Well, thank you for being here. Welcome back to the News Underground. I am a abandoned nihilism, a harbinger of what's to come. And not to ghoulishly pat myself on my back, but I guess I will. This is literally exactly as I predicted. Clips are there. YouTube channel has the archive. You can go back and check if you want. But I warned that the language that I was hearing from Ben Gavir, especially, but the dog whistling that I also heard from Bibi Netanyahu was really quite clear to me. Um, the project of ethnic cleansing and the removal of Palestinians from their land is going to not only continue, but will accelerate. And that's exactly what we've seen here. I mean, right down to the comparisons to 9/11, you know, which of course precipitated a massive change in the United States stance, military geopolitical stance. They use that as the justification for the next, it's still being used as the justification. It's just a little embarrassing to even bring it up because it's, such an old event now. But it's still basically the linchpin for the justification for the United States' ability to just bomb countries. We just get to bomb whatever we want to bomb. We don't declare war. We don't, really have robust debates about it. We just let the military industrial complex just kind of take care of things. So this is as predicted. We are going to actually jump into big props, by the way, to this instrumental of Walk On By Dionne Warwick by Calico Cat. 117 subscribers. Maybe give Calico Cat here some props. That's what we're doing, right? We're just walking on by. Well, this is just some Middle East thing. Folks, if you're a United States citizen, you're funding this. You're funding this. It's coming right out of your pocket. This Israeli ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. You're paying for it. There has to be some amount of culpability, some amount of guilt. How do we allow the shamelessness of our leaders to infect us so fully? Are we really supposed to be okay with this? Especially that we're paying for it. That really is the icing on the cake, isn't it? Coming right out of your pocket. Big props to Calico Cat here. Thank you. Almost forgot to put up this article. We're going to get to Gaza at the end of the stream here. I wanted to start off with Gaza. Obviously, it's elephant in the room. But I've been avoiding talking about other issues because Gaza was just starting as I was leaving. And, it's a very hot war. There's a lot to be said about it. There's a lot to be pushed back on. A lot of propaganda, a lot of dishonesty, a lot of bad actors with their own agendas. Just it's an absolute mess. So I did want to open up with some Gazan footage, but we are going to get to Ukraine first. Then we're just going to have a recap. I found this really handy website that I'll be using in the future here. It's a global conflict tracker And I just wanted to get an update on the African and Middle East conflicts that I've been covering before I had to leave to San Jose for, God, I guess a month and a half. Um, so I just wanted to get an update in Yemen, Sudan, Iran, Iraq. Apparently, there's some instability in Iraq. By the way, we still have U.S. bases in Iraq. Of course, Syria. So we're going to be getting to that, and then of course we're going to be jumping into the Gaza disaster at the end of the stream. So let's get to our Ukraine news first of all. Longtime friend of the show, Dennis over here with an update. Unfortunately, reporting from Ukraine they said they got sick and they've been offline for over 8 days. So make sure you like and subscribe over there at Reporting for Ukraine. Give him some support. I'd love to see him back. It's my absolute favorite Ukraine update channel. But hey, nothing wrong with little Dennis update. I thought we'd start off with that just to get a recap on the current situation. Things are pretty hot in Avdiivka.
Hello my friends and welcome. Let's go straight to Avdiivka. The situation update here, if we speak about the ground, is not in favor of Ukraine because Russia took some of the ground on the south. However, at the same time they have tremendous losses. Still unable to take any kind of the villages under their control. So let's go to the timeline. It was yesterday and it is today. The light advancement of the Russian forces, however, they took the part of this road. Also, if you check out the satellite image, you may find one more artificial hill over there. Let's check out the 3D map. So this is the Avdiivka town, and here Russia was successful. Here we don't have this latest update. Still it is colored in blue, but here is this hill. The elevation is not that significant, so it will not provide Russians with surveillance over Avdiivka town. However, it could give them some opportunities to spot the
Holy shit, what is this new tool? He's got a new tool. What the fuck is this? He's all fucking jumping into cyberspace? When did this happen?
They took the part of this road. Also, if you check out the satellite image, you may find one more artificial hill over there. Let's check out the 3D map. So this is the
What? We got a 3D map now? Holy shit, dude. You're fucking gone for a couple weeks and then all of a sudden you come back. Okay.
Avdiivka town, and here Russia was successful. Here we don't have this latest update. Still it is colored in blue, but here is this hill. The elevation is not that significant, so it will not provide Russians with surveillance over Avdiivka town. However, it could give them some opportunities to spot the ground around. So the terrain is mostly flat in this area, as you can see. We also have the confirmation of the Russian advancement from the different sources. So here they took this ground. Just remember, around 3 months ago Ukraine started the attack towards the Donetsk airfield. I reported about it. So now unfortunately Ukraine stopped that attack, concentrated mostly on defense, and Russia, as you see, is taking the ground because basically Ukraine doesn't want to lose the forces in the trench fight. Still, Russians would have to cover all of that area to get to Avdiivka, and all of those fields are covered with mines. We may conclude that the offensive operation, the Russian Blitzkrieg with major forces and artillery backup, just failed. Today there was just one small attack performed by the Russian forces, and they were stopped and finally finished by Ukrainian drones. Again, you can see the turret separation. Also, the Russian T-90 Prorif tank was targeted by the FPV.
Yeah, Rebel. I mean, the plan is to dump 1.1 million people out of northern Gaza. So they would need a place to concentrate those people, some kind of camp of some sort, possibly. Indeed.
FPV drone, it was kaputted and burned down. The majority of those videos I publish on my Telegram channel. It is available in the video description just below. I also keep my audience updated with the current news around Ukraine and not only on Telegram. So Russia definitely uses much less forces in Avdiivka. Right now they are accumulating the forces. It doesn't mean that they stop the offensive to get Avdiivka. But here we can see one of the first days of the Russian advancement to Avdiivka. Lots of the infantry, lots of the reinforcements. Some say that Russia already lost 4,000 soldiers during this failed attack attempt. Well, not sure about 4,000, but based on the images that I have seen, 1,000 for sure. And just numerous of the vehicles, the losses surpass everything we witnessed this year. The drone battalion of Magyar also sends the video of the FPV drone operation. You may see that it was very precise. So
damn. Not Rebel, I'm not even sure what the hell you're talking about, man. I mean, Israel can literally do no wrong. There's literally no scenario where Israel is not totally innocent, 100% justified in its action. So, you know, we'll just give it a different name, you know. And I mean, the plan is to get them out of there, right? And that's somehow justified, somehow.
Ukraine uses the FPV drones more compared to the Russian side. However, Russia obtains resources to produce their own FPV drones. Mostly the spare parts are coming from China. Let's go back to the front lines. This time we have good news coming from Andriivka. Ukraine got more ground over there, pushing Russians out. We're speaking about the 11th separate assault brigade of the Russian army, which was forced to retreat. We have the information about it from the different sources. Generally speaking, the Bakhmut direction is not the strategic one for Ukraine because there is the...
Hey, Rebel, I heard yesterday, you know, Israel turned on the a second water pipe out of 3. So, you know, they're doing everything they can to protect civilians that they're bombing.
Vast territory which is controlled by the Russian army. There is no chance for now that Ukraine would be able to penetrate those defense lines and go to liberate this territory. For Ukraine, the main attack operation could be conducted where it is conducted right now, basically in Orikhiv direction, in an attempt to get Melitopol under control, and also across the Dnieper River in Kherson Oblast. By the way, we have the update on this territory. The deep state military map covered everything in the gray color. So it was yesterday, it is today. Ukraine performs numerous of the attacks across the Dnieper. Plus there was new information spread in internet that Ukraine went to Krinky across the Dnieper River. It is hard to say whether this information is correct or not. Now we don't have really the proofs about it. Just a single video was recorded by our Marines, and some analysis say that it was done in Krinky. So here we have the assumed area of the Ukrainian new landing operation, and here is the photo of the destroyed something, the house that is somewhere over there. Probably it was done by Ukrainian artillery. There is also some information from the Russian publics that Ukraine crossed the Dnieper River in this area, but it's hard to trust their channels. Some of the Russian military bloggers who speak with actual Russian soldiers say that Russia has losses in Krinky and all across the Dnieper River shore. The Ukrainian artillery works perfectly against the Russian positions. They also say that they caused the losses for Ukraine, which could be true because they continue to use the aviation gliding bombs. Nevertheless, the situation for Russia, as they say, there is very critical. The information about what is actually happening is not coming to the high military command, they say. Russia is holding just thanks to their local military commanders in that area, who are calling about the future disaster for the Russian army. Nevertheless, they receive not a lot of the supplies because I think Russia started their attack near to Avdiivka. They think that that is their main goal for autumn campaign. But you know what might happen if the landing operation in Krinky is confirmed? I already told you maybe a couple of times that Ukraine will advance from this place and from Krinky, cutting the Russian army probably over here or probably even here. I expect it to be like that, otherwise I don't see the sense of the landing operation across the Dnieper River if our guys just keep the ground over there. More good news for Ukraine: our armed forces were able to advance between Marinka and Novomikhailivka before Ukraine actually lost some of the ground on the south part from Novomikhailivka, but today we see the advancement. However, Russia opened the fire on our positions. You can see their artillery fire on the scheme. Some interesting events are happening inside the Russian Federation. Today I will not speak about Israel or Gaza, but the events in Russia which were partially triggered by the war between Israel and Hamas. So here you can see the Russian airplane, well actually it's American made airplane, Boeing 737.
Yeah, this is a crazy fucking story. And it's perfect fuel for the Israeli victimhood narrative that, anti-Semitism's on the rise, and this is all about Jew hatred. Let's of course ignore the occupation. Let's ignore the apartheid. This is literally just, they hate us because they hate us. The famous Hannity quote.
But it flies for the Russian Pobeda Airlines. It is the Makhachkala International Airfield, the main one in Dagestan, which is the Republic of Russia. And you may see lots of the people are running somewhere, and lots of the stones, by the way, on the apron. So what actually happened there? There was the regular commercial flight from Tel Aviv to Makhachkala, Russia. By the way, Israel didn't cancel the flights to Russia. I think it should have cancelled it to avoid the situation which happened today. So someone posted the information in the local publics of Dagestan that Jews are flying to Makhachkala. It was enough to spark the huge fire, and many locals went to the airfield. On the way they started to block the traffic searching for the Jews. Later on they went to the airport blocking the terminal building. They opened also the door to the apron and went all across to it. Then they start to run around the airplanes searching for the airplane which came from Israel. They even searched the Jews in the engines, and they attacked.
Wow, guys, not helping. Big time not helping. I'm not even going to say your heart's in the right place. I think your heart's in the wrong place. I mean, I don't think I'll ever get used to seeing people allow themselves to be used as pawns. I don't think I'll ever get used to that. Just the willingness, the servile attitude of, well, an authority figure agrees with me, so it must be good. It's so utterly fucking pathetic. And of course, the whole concept of, chasing the Jews down is completely ridiculous. And yes, by definition, actually, no. I've been watching some Jewish theologians, rabbis, who disagree with Israel, who actually disagree with the whole idea that the Jewish identity and Israel are inherently connected. There's a whole debate about, that to defend Zionism is anti-Semitic. It's like religious debate shit, which is like the exact thing I try to avoid, because there's no debating with religious people. With most religious people, there's no debating. It is a certainty that we will never understand this faith, right? Yeah, exactly, Rebel Phoenix. You're hitting on it probably more articulately than I am. But so there's this. Okay, I'm just trying to say that, like, this is clearly like Jew hatred, and it's disgusting, and it's counterproductive. I just wanted to point that out so that the bad actors that are furiously, by the way, it's hilarious. I keep going to my clips, and there's these, bad actors that are furiously clipping trying to take me out of context. No, I'm not tired. I'm sad. This all this shit is it's just very sad because the Western Alliance wants this. The Western Alliance is okay allowing the Palestinians to suffer if they can keep Israel as a military satellite that can be used for belligerence against any Middle Eastern country, especially Iran. Israel is a handy tool. The West doesn't want to give it up. They pretend to pay fealty to it. So whenever, one of these Middle Eastern countries finally decides to push back, guess who's going to be on the front line? It's not going to be hot dog eating Uncle Sam boys. It's going to be Israelis. And so the West is willing to sacrifice the Palestinians. The West is going to watch this happen, and they're going to condemn it as long as it's slow. As long as it's slow, and Bibi Netanyahu and Ben Gvir don't just kill. They can kill, but they can't go completely kill crazy, because the West just simply can't justify that. There's just no amount of propaganda and lying that can cover up mass graves being filled with thousands of dead women and children. But what you do is you do another Nakba. So I've been on vacation, borderline feline. I hope you enjoyed the stream on Saturday, the party stream. I'm out here in San Jose, but thank you for coming back, borderline feline. Yeah, they can genocide a little bit, but no. So look, the Nakba is Palestinian for the catastrophe. And it was basically in the 40s when Israel expanded massively and displaced 750,000 Palestinians. So the world was different in the 40s. News was different. Information was different in the 40s. So you could still get away with shit like that. And they can still get away with it, but it's going to be much harder. But as long as they're not killing hundreds of thousands and they're just displacing hundreds of thousands, I think the West is okay with that. I think the West is willing to put up with that. Fine, put them in a ghetto, put them in a camp, whatever you want to call it, tent city. But as long as there aren't images of mass, slaughters, and it's just a bunch of miserable people being trekked out of their homes, out of their land. Anyway, folks, we're going to be getting to the Gaza stuff at the end of the stream, but it was relevant here because Dennis was talking about this insane anti-Jew nonsense that only fuels Israelis' victimhood complex, which is in itself an incredibly toxic thing for Israeli society. You don't want your society based off of a victimhood narrative. That's not a strong foundation to build a strong democracy off of. It basically allows any bad actor, usually a right winger, to justify whatever violence it deems necessary, and of course treat the people that it's committing violence against as boogeymen, as the other, and just incredibly toxic.
Attempted to break into this airplane, which actually
came... borderline feline, we will be covering that. I have that article ready to go.
From Dubai, United Arab Emirates. The airplane from Israel that we see on the Flight Radar 24, which successfully landed with some delay in Makhachkala airfield, belongs to the Red Wings Airlines. We have even the registration 89141, and you may find this airplane on the apron in Makhachkala. Basically, it is staying behind the Pobeda aircraft, so this is the registration. You may see 41 at the end. It means that it is this particular airplane, but there are no any stairs, so those people are unable to get inside the plane because it's too high. So what they do, they just run around the airfield, throw some stones, and that's it. After a while, police came to the place and they start to restrict or arrest the people who went to the apron, but there were lots of the people. So they put down some on the floor. By the way, here is the Red Wings airplane, the registration. This came
Fucking
from
morons.
Israel. You may see no lights, and I wonder whether the people are inside or they were successfully evacuated from the place. By the way, if the airplane is coming from Israel, it doesn't mean that inside there are Jews. Those could be Dagestan people, Russian people who went to Israel, for example, for the medical treatment, because the medical support in Russia really sucks. So definitely we see the brainwashed people. By the way, there are a couple of the spies. This guy is wearing the USA hoodie and this one as well. There was also some shooting reported on the apron. Russia landed their helicopter there with police. Also, they start to deploy the military forces in Makhachkala. And those are the Russian people who came to Makhachkala, to Russia from Dubai. So welcome home. They were forced to go back to the airplane because there was the crowd running on them. I'm 100% sure that if you close the door on Boeing 737, this crowd will never find out how to open it. Basically, you need to have some knowledge to open it. The basic one, but the crowd is usually without any knowledge. But the angry crowd and the rational thinking are two different things. Here we have some trolling from the other airplane. So this is Babeda. So I believe that this picture was taken from the Red Wings airplane, and definitely there could be some of the Israeli citizens or double citizens, Russians.
I see. There's an Israeli person. So they're looking at the other plane getting attacked, and they're like, haha, I'm on this plane anyway. Okay. This is politics now, guys. This is politics. Doing a little trolling, guys. I got him.
And Israeli. So probably they were staying there with lights off. The local Dagestan public say that all of the shops around were robbed and looted by the crowd. Usual. As I'm recording this video, the situation is now more or less under control. There were some clashes between the angry crowd and police.
Is social media going is social media going to lead to nuclear war? You know what I mean? Are we going to tweet ourselves into fucking the apocalypse?
Some of the policemen were wounded.
One selfie with a mushroom cloud selfie. Hashtag mushroom cloud selfie.
The Russian Wikipedia says that there were Ukrainian Jews on board of that airplane. Ukrainian Jews. Even President of Ukraine Zelensky made its statement. He says that it is the result of the Russian propaganda. Basically, the Russian propaganda spread the hatred against the Western countries,
I'm on
Jews,
the fence,
Ukraine,
rebel.
whatever.
I don't know anymore,
really care. We may say that the Russian propaganda highly supports the Hamas movement after their attack on Israel. The leaders of Hamas organization even went to Moscow for official meeting with Russian representatives. It was their first voyage since the beginning of the war between Israel and Hamas. So now we see the result. I am totally
voyage. I love this guy's in English. It's great.
I agree with President Zelensky. It also creates the interesting effect inside the Russian Federation, because we may see how Russia is being divided. I would say that such a big country as Russia, with that national division, with lots of the ethnic groups and lots of the religion confessions, is unable to maintain its current borders under this huge propaganda. So for sure in the future we'll see the disintegration of the Russian Federation. It will be formatted into many of the different states.
Yeah, okay, all right, Rasputin. All right, I mean, Dennis, homie, you got to calm down with the predictions, dude. Come on. All right, look, I got some opinions on the situation of the Ukraine war. We're going to get to them at the end of these videos that I'm going to show here. So let's just chill out with your predictions there, Rasputin.
It will happen, but it will not happen tomorrow. The crowd even catch one guy. They say he looks like
Russia condones Hamas. Russia isn't condoning Hamas, are they?
Like a Jew, but this guy is from
Jesus Christ. No, God, no. Now we're doing the nose thing. No, no.
Uzbekistan.
Where's
He
my
works as the
soundboard?
doctor in a local hospital. After a while,
Cool it
crowd
with the
released
anti-Semitic
him
remarks.
thankfully.
Cool it,
So
cool
this
it, cool
event
it, cool
in its
it.
nature is not really good, but it opens the eye on a real picture in Russia. Russia
Guys, am
looks
I
stable
Jewish?
under ruling of the Tsar Putin,
No,
but
I'm looking
definitely
pretty.
in the future it will be a huge chaos inside the country.
This is
During
insane.
the daytime, the angry crowd just burned this construction, the Israeli center that was in the building process in Dagestan. At the same time, Russia
This is
performs
so
the
dumb.
special military operation to denazify Ukraine. So who really needs the denazification? Alright, let's go back to Ukraine because we have the air sirens. Russia launched some of the missiles and the drones on Ukrainian civilian infrastructure. At the same time, Ukraine continued to send the commercial ships from the Odessa ports full of grains. Awesome, so Russia left the grain deal, but Ukraine and allies doesn't really care.
No, and this is great. This is great news. This is a big victory right here. The ability to ignore Russia, you know. Do you think the left hates Israel? Because the left doesn't hate Israel. So right off the bat, I disagree with your premise. The left hates Israel? That's such a loaded fucking statement. Because you know who I dislike, hate? I hate the right-wing Israeli government. That's why I'm always very specific when I say, I don't say I hate the Russians. I hate Putin. I hate the Russian government. The left doesn't hate Israel. The left would prefer Israel to lift the occupation and to give Palestine the autonomy that they deserve, just like every other nation on the planet. That's what the left would like. It's not about hating Jews and anti-Semitism, you fucking jackasses. You know, that narrative is so dangerous because it's full justification for murder, 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 and exile. We're talking 1.1 million people in Gaza City. That's bigger than the Nakba. That's bigger than the Nakba. And by the way, this whole Hamas headquarters under the hospital, we have one photo from the Israeli government to confirm that. I'm sorry, I don't trust the Israeli right-wing government.
Ships are still going.
There are there are like 3.2 or 3.3 or something million Gazans in the Gaza Strip. There are 1.1 million in Gaza City, the northern part of Gaza.
It is possible because our guys kicked the Russians out from the Snake Island and took control over the oil and gas platforms in the Black Sea. Ukraine responded to the Russian attacks by hitting the oil refinery center in Komi Republic of Russia. Locals reported the drone attack, the noise from the engines, and the collision. At the same time, Russia is going to use the new version of the Lancet drone. Those could be more effective and more precise. They say that all of the tests were completed. Unfortunately,
What a crazy design. What a crazy design. I assume this thing isn't spinning in air. Yeah, and this whole thing, okay, like, yeah, I actually agree. It doesn't really seem like Israel bombed the hospital last time, but I found it interesting that during this whole debate, nobody was mentioning all the times that Israel has admittedly bombed hospitals in Gaza. One happened just a week before that incident. But I don't know. I'm not a missile expert, but there's enough gray area for me. It could be one of those air blast missiles coming from Israel, maybe, but I don't know. It looks like a misfire to me, but I don't know. I don't fucking know. So I'll just give that one to Israel. Sure, whatever, fine. But what about, I mean, literally, but what about all those other fucking hospitals you bombed all those other times that you admitted to? Oh, yeah, no, those are targets, legitimate targets. We had to do it. We had to do it. So anyway, does this thing spin in the air like a fucking... This is like we're getting into video game shit, dude. This looks something out of Call of Duty. And they're using phosphorus bombs. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Kill, kill, kill. Kill, kill, kill.
Actually, Ukraine doesn't have the similar type of the weaponry produced massively in Ukraine. However, we are working on that. My friends, please don't forget to press.
All right, folks, there you go. That's your Dennis update. Thank you so much, Dennis. Love this guy. Make sure you like and subscribe to your boy. Still holding it down, still giving us that that juicy Ukraine news. So thank you so much, Dennis. Make sure you like and subscribe, folks. Turn down for offer the Palestinian. Yeah, no. If there is if anyone thinks for a second that I'm defending Hamas or the Palestinian Authority, please get that out of your mind. These leaders are corrupt, terrible, genocidal, counterproductive, and just actually like bad at their job. You get some hostages and this and that and the big strategies to put them in the basement and make, you know, pithy little demands. There's like and just the rampant corruption, of all of these Palestinian leaders is disgusting. Of course, Hamas's strategies, literally, you know, and figuratively using human shields. Not that Israel is totally innocent of that as well. Never hear that mentioned. First thing Israeli settlers, first thing Israeli occupiers like to do when they take a Palestinian home is literally move in their women and children. Like it's number one priority, get them in there. No, can't talk about that. That's anti-Semitic. Why would you even say that? Can't. Oh my God, that, you know, geez, you are just a monster. Israel doesn't use human shields. No. So just some red meat for you boys. Holy fuck, dude. Holy fucking shit. Boy, I hope that tank was empty, dog. Holy shit. Hey, welcome back from South Boston. It's your boy, Lenny. Lenny. Thank you so much, Lenny. Lenny, it's empty now, that's for sure. Lenny is, of course, the #1 financial contributor to the stream, so big props to you, Lenny. And I don't know if you've started streaming on Twitch, but if you have, make sure you check out Lenny's channel. I'm sure it's filled with some hot tips. Well, I've been on vacation, been dealing with family. I had a party to DJ, and so just a lot of shit happening. You know, just got to keep the family happy. You know, it's not like I'm making any money off doing this. This isn't a career. This is just activism. This is political activism. I'm doing this because it needs to be said. There are hypocrites and grifters on all sides of a grand majority of these political debates. I have no agenda. I have nothing to sell you. Please check out my merch store. Not you, Lenny. You're not allowed anymore. But no, honestly, I have no agenda here except for the truth. It's not a hobby. Activism is a lifestyle. Okay? Activism is part of being a citizen. It's not a hobby. God damn, dude. That's right out of Hollywood. One more time. I got to see that one more time, dude. Holy fucking shit, dude. Boom, there it is. And then the fucking gun blows up too. The gun blows up when it lands, dude. It's so cinematic. Look at this. Boom, dude. There you go. Equal Dari. All right, Lenny. Well, let us know, buddy. I can't wait to see your streams. Good luck. Lenny is a big, important businessman, so you know he's got more important things to do than this crap. So this is a wild video. Ukrainian drone operator shrugs off a near miss of an artillery shell. So he's over here, you know, piloting a drone, and artillery shell hits danger close. It's just a Tuesday, folks. It's just a Tuesday. Yep. All right. You know what he's thinking? He's like, great, now I got to put this fucking thing back together. I mean, these guys are made from different material. These guys are made from different material, okay? These are some tough sons of bitches right here. Damn. Man. So I found this fascinating. It's just a Tuesday, Lenny. So, you know, we're finally starting to see some legitimate countermeasures to the drones. And looks like this is a pretty mean little setup. Now, it's good to note that, you know, fancy technology is all nice, but it's about, you know, are these tools going to be able to be mass produced and distributed to the front lines fast enough to be effective? That's ultimately the big question. Yeah, okay, yeah, you can do it in your prototype scenario, but can you get this shit to the front lines, and can you make 10,000 of them? Right? So that's always the question in the back of my mind when I see all this fancy new military technology. It's like, yeah, that's great, but when's it getting to the front line? Jaeger is 100% correct.
Drones are playing an increasingly significant part on the battlefield. Some argue that the smallest often present the biggest threat. The ease with which they can be bought, modified and weaponized makes them easy to proliferate. And the rapid growth in their use has resulted in an expansion of the technology needed to take them out of the game. APS's Sky Control anti-drone system is in operation in Ukraine, and the company claims it's been 90% successful.
Our radar.
All right, so here we go. It's literally already being used. Now that could just mean they have like a single, that's very vague language. It could just mean they have one or two. But it could also mean that they've been an integral part of drone defense in Ukraine. I'm not 100% sure. That language is very vague.
Are uniquely designed to detect low, slow, and small aerial targets, and so there are all classes of UAVs out there. And what is really quite exceptional about our radars are they're so effective at identifying the targets, reliably tracking them, and most importantly, instantly classifying it. To classify whether it's a bird or a drone. And in doing so, you are able to allow the operator to make the right decision about what they want to do with the target.
APS is just one company attempting to keep ahead of drone development to protect the airspace.
Boy, what's it like to be a bird in Ukraine right now? It's probably quite confusing.
Their system is designed to be easily transportable and quick to assemble.
It's less than 5 minutes. The record we had is 3.5 minutes because it's a click and lock system. It's very transportable. Two guys, put it in the back of a truck, drive off, assemble it, and you have your full comprehensive anti-drone system.
Ease of transportation is critical on an ever-changing battlefield. Mars has launched an infantry version of its short-range interceptor drone. It carries no weapons and neutralizes threats by smashing into them.
It's a tube launch system.
Shit, man. Isn't that great? Super advanced technology to fucking bash into each other. Fucking millions of dollars of R&D to create a fucking battery ram in the sky, dude. Burr, burr, blast into it.
With a targeting sight on it. And so each individual infantry person.
Holy shit, look at this thing, dude. This is out of this. Okay, we've hit Battlestar Galactica levels, okay?
one. It's
Look at
very
this
lightweight,
thing.
so the physical burden is really low. So total weight for the infantry version of the short range is less than 4 kilograms. It packs down as well. The tube, the launch tube itself packs down. So we've been really conscious of the physical burden.
You know, I don't know, man. Look at the footage of this thing flying. This thing, I don't know. This thing doesn't look very
version
stable.
of its short-range interceptor drone. It carries no weapons and neutralizes threats by smashing into them.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. It seems like, I don't know, bro. It seems a little... Is it reusable? I think it's reusable, yeah.
Physical burden.
Defense companies are keeping a close eye on the lessons coming out of Ukraine. One of the most unexpected is that big and expensive doesn't always mean better in modern warfare.
You know, Rebel Phoenix, how that would be a pretty cheap and convenient countermeasure. I guess, I mean, a lot of those drones don't get low enough until they're actually, like, you know, attacking. A lot of those drones hover high enough probably to avoid some kind of net gun. But we really haven't seen any, I haven't seen any Russians using any kind of net countermeasures. Like launched, you know, I've seen them set up nets. Yeah, Jaeger, exactly.
Claire Sadler, Forces News. Thanks for watching. For more from Forces...
Real quick, just wanted to say that was clearly propaganda. That was clearly, you know, trying to sell this technology. But I just wanted to show it, you know, just you know, because the drones often come up in conversation, especially in Ukraine. We're probably going to see more of them, though, in Gaza. You know, obviously being cheap and effective. We're probably going to see Hamas, you know, attempt to use them. We'll see. Welcome back, Snow. Yeah, thank you. You know, I've just been on. I'm still on vacation technically, but I'm in San Jose for another couple weeks until Thanksgiving. But, you know, I've had a lot of things going on, and thankfully things have finally calmed down a little bit, and I have time to get back to my activism here. Stop those Amazon delivery drones. Take this, Jeff. All right, just a couple more
standing up for
Ukraine related videos here. Then we're going to be moving on to just an update on some of the other conflicts that are happening across the world, and then of course we're going to get to our big meaty Gaza section where we're going to be for several hours there. But I've been avoiding too much. I've been avoiding too much of the rest of the world for the sake of Israel and Gaza. We have to cover this stuff. So, I mean, we're seeing it's amazing to me because even it's starting to hit me as well. This perception that this is never going to end. This like, okay, like Russia just has an infinite number of idiots willing to throw themselves into the meat grinder, an infinite number of Soviet era tanks and weaponry to throw at the Ukrainians, even if it's not accurate or, you know, nearly as effective per strike. If you fire 100 fucking million of them, you know, you're still going to do enough damage to be a threat. But, you know, so you have all that weighing on you, and then you hear shit like this of like, record number of Russians getting smoked, record number of Russian armor getting blown up. I mean, if this was America versus the terrorists, it would be 24/7 wall-to-wall coverage of how badass America is, right? At blowing shit up and killing the enemy. And yet, because it's Ukraine and all this counter narrative with, you know, with right-wingers finding it advantageous to push against Ukraine, there's all this doubt, even though these guys are fucking, they're killing it out there. I'm sorry for the pun, but these are some big victories. And they're, you know, and they're like the losses are like 1 to 3, 1 to 4 in terms of like one Ukrainian, you know, versus, you know, one Ukrainian dead for every 3 to 4 Russian dead, which, like, I don't mean to be ghoulish, but we're talking about a war here. Those are great numbers, okay? Those are awesome numbers if you're fighting a war. So it's frustrating that Ukraine is really slam dunking a lot, you know, really, really fighting as hard as they can, doing things strategically smart, and they're just you know, and of course the Israel Gaza situation. It's just so frustrating. And by the way, I'm sorry. This is Good Morning America. Welcome back, John Axel, and welcome back, Davey. So let's jump in real quick. Just a minute long clip here.
Well, as we heard the president argue in that rare Oval Office address, while the conflicts in Israel and Ukraine are very different, Hamas and Vladimir Putin share the same goal of annihilating democracy. This comes as the largest number of Russian casualties in a single day since the war.
I mean, if Bibi Netanyahu gets what he wants, is Israel still a democracy, or is it just a straight up dictatorship? If Bibi Netanyahu is able to change the judiciary that just allows the government to just nullify investigations, against him or anyone that he's able to convince his cronies to vote for. Yeah, Lenny. Well, there were. It wasn't that they realized it was useless; is that they realized they were broke. Is using its best people. Russia is using convict scum and minorities they don't care about. It's. I weep for Ukraine. Ukraine deserves freedom just as much as the Palestinians do, and I just, to see such powerful entities like the United States and the Western alliances, just acquiesce to some of this, you know what I mean? It reinforces why why I'm moving to Canada.
Began have been reported. Patrick Reevell is in Kyiv for us this morning. Good morning. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning, Juju. Yeah, as President Biden spoke last night, some of the heaviest fighting in months is raging here in Ukraine. The Ukrainian military are claiming Russia has suffered its largest number of casualties in a single day since the start of the invasion. And while the world's eyes are glued to Israel, Russia is waging a major new offensive in the east. Ukraine also on the attack, landing troops across a key river in the south. The president's speech was an important boost for Ukrainians here. Many here are deeply worried about U.S. support fading. Ukrainian officials say that if U.S. aid stopped, Ukraine can start to face...
Yeah, the GOP is spineless, but they're calculating. It's a calculation. And honestly, I want to know. I want to know what's up with these right-wing Republicans and their connections to Russia. Their fealty to Russia is bizarre and super suspect. And I don't mean to be like McCarthy, over here, but what the fuck is going on with some of these right-wing Republicans, right? When you start tipping up the rocks, and all of a sudden there's all kinds of weird connections. It's suspect, man. I want real investigations, and quite frankly, I want real investigations into neoliberals and their connections to Russia as well. But I'm not really as suspect, obviously, because of their support for Ukraine. But I don't know. It's conspiracy theory. I don't have any proof or anything. I want some investigations is what I'm calling for.
Ammunition shortages within months. And a Ukrainian MP this morning telling us they hope now
I don't get the
Congress
motivation,
will heed the president's
John
call and approve long-term funding that will help them push Russia back. George.
Okay, Patrick, thanks.
Jesus Christ, George Stephanopoulos over here. He was looking a little beat.
George.
Okay, Patrick, thanks.
Nah, he's all right. I'm tripping. I'm really just jealous of George. I'm jealous of all these big fucking millionaire news guys. The cushiest job in the world. They just read the teleprompter and pretend to look, sincere. It's just coasting. It's coasting until you're dead. And if you just toe the narrative, you get to die a hero. A journalistic, George Stephanopoulos, just such a legendary journalist, right up there with Cronkite. Such a fucking joke. So I had to show this. We got Anthony Blinken over here updating, about shit, and we have some protesters standing up. I'm perfectly okay with this kind of protest. I think this is great and appropriate. I agree with this. I bet there'd be a single Republican. I mean, it's Jaeger. Yeah. I mean, that's honestly what makes this really suspect, is that, it really wasn't that long ago when these guys were like, communism is just, this is McCarthy 2.0. And, it was very bellicose language. And now it's very coddling language, very, it's, under the guise, of course, of peace, which is, we're talking about right-wing fascist Republicans. talking about how they care about peace. I mean, it's disingenuous to say the least. But like I said, I don't have any proof of anything. What I would do if I was in charge, I would immediately start investigating these right-wing Republicans and their connections to Russia. I don't know, request the FBI. I don't know what I would do, but I would be demanding investigations. And if I was in charge of in any way, I'd be implementing investigations, because it's very worrying. It's very worrying.
Standing up for our interests and values, not shrinking back. Not in the face of Russia's aggression against Ukraine. Not in the face of an intensifying strategic conflict.
So this woman, Medea Benjamin, fully supports Russia's genocidal campaign against Ukraine. I didn't know that this was a Code Pink initiative. I'm not going to show this clip. Medea Benjamin is a pathetic grifter, and she needs to get off the stage, so to speak. She does not represent the left or progressivism as much as she likes to pretend to. Code Pink has completely lost any respect, at least in my eyes, for its support of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So Medea Benjamin, personally, just between you and me, fuck you. Moving on. I wanted to show this because I'm not going to show the whole video, but goddamn, they're starting to do like those really slick animated battlefield history videos on the current conflict of, Ukraine and Russia. Right. All right. 1 second here. So let me just play this here while I ban these idiots. 1 second.
After months of unsuccessful attempts to break through towards the Azov Sea and to retake Bakhmut, the Ukrainian army is back on the defensive on several fronts again. In the first half of October, Russia started its operations to recapture strategic momentum on the battlefield, only to achieve small gains while taking huge losses, on par with the Volodar and Seversky Donetsk debacles. All this was happening against the background of yet another significant escalation in the Middle East, which has the potential to impact the war in Ukraine. Welcome to another
Equaldari, shut the fuck up.
Update on the war in Ukraine. This video is made possible thanks to the generous support. Your support. On several occasions, the Ukrainian military command and political leadership have vowed to continue their counter.
So look at the date at the top right here. This is what we're referencing. This is the last, half a month of activity on the front lines in Ukraine, Russia.
Offensive operations through autumn and winter. It is certainly not impossible. Russia's previous offensive, which culminated with the capture of Bakhmut, went for 5 to 6 months throughout winter and muddy months of early spring. But it will surely be harder than attacking in the summer. And the Ukrainian counter-offensive that started in the summer and seems to be fizzling out as we speak, did not achieve any of the strategic goals it had targeted. The Ukrainian army has tried different options to break through in the Zaporizhia Oblast, such as the mass armored offensive on the first days, which led to many destroyed tanks and armored vehicles, or the slow and
That's right. Happy Halloween and welcome to all my lurkers. Thank you if you're lurking. Thank you for being here. I do appreciate your support of the News Underground. Happy Halloween, everybody.
methodical war of attrition, which has so far led to small gains. Everyone expected Ukraine to attack on the Zaporizhia front, and there was no element of surprise for the Russian army.
Yeah.
It is incredibly difficult to have the element.
Look, I want to say, look, you're seeing me shake my head and you're seeing me be, I'm not disagreeing with this guy. I am begrudgingly agreeing with this cold, it's seemingly objective. I don't know if this guy maybe is pro-Russian. I don't think so. This seems, I don't even know what they were talking about, Chem Goblin. Halloween is the shit, Davey. Halloween is a good opportunity for dorks like you to get laid. So you might want to reconsider your position. I love you, Davey. I want to see you get laid, buddy. Don't poo-poo Halloween. This is like your best chance. Satan's holiday. Exactly what I'm talking about, man. Go out and get yourself some, folks. Come on, okay?
Element of surprise in the
okay, back to this video though. So far I don't disagree with any of his cold assessments of Ukraine's military failures. Welcome back, Krail.
this war in which drones detect.
There you go, Davey. He loves Halloween. There we go, folks. Satan's holiday. I just want to see you happy, Davey. That's what I want to see, bud.
Almost any notable enemy movement and massing of forces for a ground assault. As stated over and over again, Russian minefields and fortifications have been another decisive factor so far. There has been much focus on the Surovikin lines and the success of the Ukrainian army in going through the first one. But Russia has created defensive positions in almost every tree line, every ruin, every place that can offer some kind of cover. Moreover, Russian soldiers did not crumble as they did during the Kharkiv counteroffensive. Hence, since the liberation of Robotyne in late August, the AFU has not been able to retake any.
Yeah, the disgusting truth is that that 3-level trench line where you put the pathetic the pathetic chaff, the pathetic, undertrained, poor, young, naive dumbasses on the front line, you prevent them from pulling back by just saying, look, it's certain death. It's certain death if you try to run. The only way you're going to survive is if you fight. And I hate it. I hate that it's working, that it's effective. I hate it.
Any other settlement in the Zaporizhia Oblast. The Russian army has continued its tactic of active defense, as they have been counterattacking positions that have been recently lost to Ukrainians. To summarize, at this point, not much indicates that the Ukrainian army will be able to achieve a decisive breakthrough on the Zaporizhia front in the upcoming months, despite the best efforts of the Ukrainian soldiers. Events from the Zaporizhia front from the first half of October did not do much to change this opinion. On October 9th, several Russian and Ukrainian soldiers reported that the Russian 64th Motor Rifle Brigade made gains in the Marfapil-Chavona area near Hulyapole. There have also been reports about successful Russian counterattacks near.
He absolutely slam dunked the pronunciation of that. Holy shit, dude.
Verbova. Still, the AFU continued expanding its Robotyne salient towards Verbova, Kopani, and Novopokropivka in this period. Still, there have been no reports of Ukrainian progress in the Velika Novosilka axis for the past several weeks. The status quo persists along the river Dnipro as well. Most of the reports from this front come from Russian sources, which claim that the Ukrainians continued raiding islands in the Dnipro Delta as heavy artillery battles continued. They also claim that.
Wait, did he say Dnipro? How does he slam dunk the pronunciation 5 seconds ago and then bust out the Dnipro? All right.
Ukraine is preparing to conduct an offensive on the left bank of the Dnipro and is deploying new units to this front for this purpose. Russian sources have been claiming this for a while, but the absence of a workable bridgehead for Ukraine on the left bank makes this scenario very unlikely. The Russian army has also reactivated its offensive operations on the North Luhansk front.
They need fucking they need the US Air Force. The US Air Force would change, they'd be able to preemptively bomb these minefields, clear out these incredible trench lines. Fuck, man, fuck. And the Ukrainian Air Force is like, we're talking like middle of next year, and maybe we got some kind of significant force in the air.
The Russians have destroyed several bridges on the Oskil River in the Kupiansk section of the front, aiming to disrupt Ukrainian logistics. In this period, the Russian army has been attacking Sinkivka, Makiivka, Polyanska, Nevska, and Serebryansky Forest and has made little progress in each case. Donbass is back to being the hottest front of this war. The AFU is still trying to gain ground in the south of Bakhmut, while the Russians are regularly conducting counterattacks to recapture their lost positions. Some of these counterattacks, like in the Klishchiivka sector, were extremely unsuccessful, and according to several Russian military bloggers, the Russian commander of the Bakhmut section, Lieutenant General Andrei Shichovy, was dismissed for that. In the north, they have been a bit more successful, as the Russians have made minor gains near Bakivka, while the Ukrainian army has not made any meaningful progress there in the past several weeks. The Ukrainian army has gained some ground along the railway north of Klishchiivka, and according to some Russian sources, even gained a foothold on the east of the railway. But overall, ever since the liberation of Klishchiivka and the adjacent heights, the the Ukrainian progress around Bakhmut has largely stalled as well. Arguably the most notable event on the battlefield in this period was the massive assault of the Russian army in the Avdiivka section on October 10th. Avdiivka is a Ukrainian stronghold right on the doorstep of Donetsk, which has been heavily...
Well, it'll go on as long as the United States continues to fund it, and it does depend. It does depend on the next presidential election. If Joe Biden wins the next presidential election, we're going to see major changes from Russia, unless they can somehow sustain this amount of losses. But it's, you know, if nothing changes, right? If nothing changes in the next 5 to 10 years, then yes, this will continue to go on with Ukraine taking inches and inches back, but Russia pushing back. But there's too much geopolitical shifting. It's not gonna. I don't know, Kem. If the right wingers get in, they may day one. They may just day one cut off Ukraine right then and there. These Republicans are extremists. They're extremists, and they're actually not very smart either. And they're fully willing to make rash, massive decisions based off their feelings. Yeah, Russia will continue. Yes. For Putin, this is an existential crisis for Putin. Putin either secures some sort of victory in Ukraine, or he's in big trouble.
Since 2014. The Russians have made several attempts to take over the Avdiivka section to push the Ukrainian forces away from the short-range artillery radius of Donetsk, but their biggest success so far has been the capture of Pisky in 2022, which did not alter the situation much.
Trump has become wishy-washy on Ukraine, I believe. I think he's agreeing with the right-wing narrative of we're spending all this money.
After days of heavy bombardment, the 15th, 21st and 144th Motor Rifle Brigades launched a ground assault in the north and the east of Avdiivka to take the remaining supply lines and encircle Avdiivka. Reportedly, the Ukrainian units were somehow caught by surprise at the initial stage of the battle, which allowed the Russian army to make some
Davey, I mean, that's a huge fucking prediction, dude. Can you back that up a little bit for me, buddy?
Progress towards Stepova and Sevena. The Ukrainian 110th Mechanized Brigade and reinforcements, which were sent from the Bakhmut section, according to Russian sources, managed to stabilize the situation and inflicted truly massive losses on the Russians by a combination of minefields, anti-tank guns, and artillery.
Yeah.
A Ukrainian source...
This was huge. This was huge, but it's just like there's more of them. There's just always more of them. I've heard fucking letters from Nazi Germany, from the soldiers talking about Russia and invading, trying to hit Stalingrad. And they're like, it just never ends. And there's just always more of them.
Made a conservative estimate of a minimum of 36 vehicles lost by the Russians, most of which being tanks, armored personnel carriers, infantry fighting vehicles, and transportation vehicles.
Fuck, man.
Other sources report the destruction of 15 tanks, 33 IFVs and APCs, 6 trucks, and 14 transportation vehicles, and 13
Damn, dude, look at those. Look at the comparison. Oh, so those were Russian losses as well in the UA East. Oh, okay.
Other sources report the destruction of 15 tanks, 33 IFVs and APCs, 6 trucks, and 14 transportation vehicles, and massive. 13 artillery pieces.
Okay, guys, I mean, that's fucking massive, and it just pisses me off that, Ukraine is delivering, dude. Ukraine is delivering. They are wrecking Russia's shit, dude. And I know Russia, they have more and they just keep throwing it. But man, there has to be an end to this. There has to be. How many warehouses filled with Soviet era fucking bullshit do they have? They've just literally been making this shit since the end of the Cold War? I mean, what is going on over there?
Ukrainian military correspondent Yuri Butazov claimed that 135 armored vehicles were destroyed in this assault. On the one hand, it shows that the Russians have been gathering reserves to mount assaults of their own.
I mean, borderline fiend line, I would like to see NATO get involved, but I don't know. I think there would be a really big debate about that. Feline, borderline feline, you have to remember, these world leaders are feckless cowards. They don't, they don't really, they're not doing things because it's the right thing to do. They're pretend, it's complicated, but they're not doing things because it's morally correct.
That they clearly have a lot of offensive potential remaining. On the other hand, once again, for the umpteenth time in this war, Russia has lost a huge amount of equipment in a single day without much to show for it. As of October 16th, the Avdiivka section has become quieter. But this does not mean that the Russians do not have the offensive potential there to complete the job. The failure of the initial phase may push the Russians to embark on another campaign of war of attrition instead of attempting similar mass assaults, which often fail in this war. In his interview, the Ukrainian military intelligence chief Kyrylo Budanov admitted that at this point, Ukraine's counteroffensive is not behind schedule, but is actually out of schedule. Previously, Ukrainian officials had acknowledged concern about the slow pace of the counteroffensive, while promising success soon. But Budanov's words seem to indicate that at least for the time being, the Ukrainian army has stalled in the Zaporizhia Oblast. In the same interview, Budanov warned about another round of the battle for electric energy in the autumn-winter season, as according to him, Russia has been saving its missiles to damage Ukrainian civilian infrastructure. He added that there won't be any problems with Western support at least until mid-2024, after which things may change, particularly if the war between Israel and Hamas turns into another long war. Budanov argued that Russia has enough equipment to fight until 2025 without any problems, adding that by the end of 2026, Russia will start experiencing shortages. There are legitimate concerns regarding the continuation—
I'm sorry, did he say the end of 2025? According to the economic assessment, Russia can afford war until 2025 without any particular problems. Oh, my fuck. Look, I got to give Woke Patriot credit on this one. He was 100% correct on this one. Where did those estimates about Russia running out of missiles and equipment come from? Where did those— was that just straight up Ukrainian propaganda? Woke Patriot was right on this one.
Start experiencing shortages. There are legitimate concerns regarding the continuation of military support to Ukraine, which have been voiced by Budanov, and which only heighten—
Just to fill you in, Woke Patriot said that this is going to be a long, protracted war, and I didn't necessarily agree with him.
After the start of the Israel-Hamas war.
Okay.
Israel has already requested military aid from the United States, and if the war takes too long and its geography expands, Washington's focus may change. Even before the start of the Israel-Hamas war, US officials have been sending mixed messages about military aid to Ukraine.
They have been. They totally have.
The Congress impasse, caused largely by the insistence of the extreme right-wing Congresspeople to stop aiding Ukraine, has been stalling the Biden administration's attempts to continue their military support to Ukraine. There have been media reports about the American insistence that Kyiv enhance its anti-corruption measures as a precondition for more aid. The US officials, including President Biden, have stated on numerous occasions that America will continue aiding for as long as it takes. But on October 11th, the National Security Council advisor, Kirby, emphasized that America is coming to the end of the rope with regards to financing of Ukraine, as it cannot continue indefinitely, which is a marked departure from—
That's huge, and you know, this was being talked about in the Discord. You know, how serious is this? You know, is this foreshadowing? You know, is Kirby saying some stuff to the important people that, you know, Joe Biden is just lying to us? I am not. Kirby is not a low-level official. Okay, Kirby is, you know, he's a high-level official, and what he has to say is very important. So this is very troubling language. Here's hoping that there's pressure internally to get Kirby to put out a statement that contradicts this.
from the earlier statements of unwavering and almost unconditional support. Several media outlets have reported in this period that the Biden administration is preparing a massive one-and-done military aid package worth $50 to $100 billion, which would help Kyiv last until 2025. But so far there is no indication that this is going to happen, particularly after the start of the war in the Middle East. Ukraine continues to rely on Western military assistance, as its internal military production, which it is trying to enhance, is still far from the level to be sufficient for the scale of the war going on. Still, in this period, Ukraine's allies continued pledging and sending military aid, with a major focus on air defense in preparation for another winter. On October 2nd, Germany delivered 32,000 rounds of 40mm ammunition, several border protection vehicles, one Beaver bridge-laying tank, and two Vicent mine-clearing tanks.
One of them? One? Fucking one?
Tanks. On October...
Two of them? None of these Western countries are ready for a real fucking war. That's just a fact, man. This is what they have to give up. None of these countries are ready for a real fight.
Fourth, it was reported that the United States would send thousands of small arms of Iranian production confiscated on the way to Yemen to Ukraine.
Great.
On the same day, the Ukrainian Minister of Strategic Industries, Kamyshin, stated that Ukraine will start producing air defense systems jointly with the United States by the end of 2023. On October 5th, Spain promised 6 Hawk air defense systems, while the United Kingdom pledged a humanitarian aid package worth £500 million.
Good point, Davey. I'm seeing your comments here, folks. Thank you, Jaeger and Lenny.
Along with that, it was reported that the German Rheinmetall Corporation gave an unspecified number of Surveil-Spire anti-drone surveillance systems and 150,000 artillery shells to Ukraine. On October...
I mean, look, you know, I mean, taken as a whole, you know what I mean? So I guess, this is Germany's contribution. This is probably all have been discussed. And quite frankly, there's a lot of the German flag on this list. So beggars can't be choosers here, but I'm just one. I mean, these are really useful, especially in the Dnipro. Like these are super crazy fucking useful. These bridge laying tanks. And it would be a big victory for Russia if they only had one. I'm sure they have more than one. But it would be a big victory if Ukraine literally only had one and they were able to blow it up.
The 6th, Sweden announced its 14th military aid package worth $200 million. On October 10th, Zelensky stated that soon Ukraine will have a corridor to transport its grain through Moldova and Romania, since the route on the Black Sea remains perilous for Ukrainian cargo vessels. Ukraine needs to find an alternative to ship its grain to international markets, and it looks like their focus is shifting to land-based.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's, those are some, I mean, because F-16s are fucking for real, dude. F-16s are expensive as shit.
Logistics. The good news is that the grain-related mini-crisis between Kyiv and its Central European allies has seemingly been resolved. Ukraine, Poland...
That's a big win. That's a big win for continued Western support right here, because this allows the West to continue to ignore the political crisis in Africa, because at least it hasn't reached complete, total, tragic famine levels in a lot of areas, because now the breadbasket of the world is producing grain again.
And Lithuania have reached an agreement, according to which Ukraine will be able to transport its grain to Lithuania, from where it will be shipped to international markets.
Yo, big props to Poland on this one, and also big props to, what's its nuts, Romania and Moldova. Or it's going along the border of Moldova. Interesting. God, there's so much geopolitical news, it's hard to keep up with everything.
Ukrainian pilots on F-16s, along with helping Ukraine with artillery and air defense. On the same day, Germany pledged a significant military aid package focusing on air defense. It includes a Patriot system, Iris-T.
All right, I'm gonna get off Germany's dick here. Germany is like, must be the #2 donator to the Ukraine conflict here.
Systems, 3 Gepard anti-aircraft guns, and 10 Leopard 1 tanks.
Leopard 1.
On October 11th, the Pentagon chief, Lloyd Austin, announced...
And, the commenters are 100% correct. This is the military-industrial complex of every country is just blowing their load. because they're like, yep, we're going to get rid of the old and we're going to buy new. We're going to get all these fancy new toys in our arsenal. So this they're loving this.
A military aid package worth $200 million, consisting of AIM-9 Sidewinder short-range air-to-air missiles, HIMARS ammunition, TOW anti-tank missiles, and 155mm and 105mm shells, while Britain pledged Terrahawk Paladin air defense guns, along with demining equipment. Also on October 11th,
totally.
The Danish defense minister informed that Denmark will send its first batch of F-16s in March or April 2024.
Yeah.
Belgium also promised to send F-16s as soon as they get their F-35 fighters, sometime in 2025. Lastly, on this day, Lithuania promised two NASAMS.
The F-16s, the F-35s, the Ukrainian Air Force has the potential to completely change the battlefield reality here. And yes, of course, there will be Ukrainian pilots shot down. Of course, there will be, but like I said, with these F-16s, you can drop from a mile up in the sky. You can drop massive bombs across an entire trench line. You can blow up whole minefields with cluster munitions. It's a very useful tool when you have an army on the ground advancing.
Systems. Norway sent 17 million euros aid for
the question is, of course, the U.S. presidential election. That's the big one. But of course, the question is, can the aid and the support continue this momentum until that happens?
Mining, while Finland announced a military aid package worth 96 million euros.
God damn.
On October 12th, it was reported that Czechia and Denmark would jointly supply weapons to Ukraine, the first batch of which includes 50 infantry fighting vehicles and main battle tanks, along with thousands of small arms of different types. On October 13th, President Zelensky stated that the Netherlands has pledged to send additional missiles for Patriot systems. There is much less to say about foreign military support to Russia, simply...
Okay, we're going to cut. I'm running out of time here. This is a fascinating video. I didn't think we would get as far as we did, but this was essential information presented really well and narrated, I think, objectively. I'm going to go ahead and say this guy, I don't think he's biased. I was really enjoying the cold, objective reality of the battlefield situation. So this is Anthony Blinken's son. Was he Zelensky? Who is he? What is this? Got a book? I honestly don't. I can't guess who he is. Who is it, Davey? Who's his son? What is this costume? What is this supposed to be? I don't know. It's going to say Robin Hood. What does she have? A pack of cigarettes? It's this little girl. He's Zelensky? Okay, he is Zelensky. Okay. I wasn't sure what that pin was. Oh, that's interesting. It's the camo green sweat. I was wondering. I was like, yeah, and the this thing here. Wow, okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. I'm not going to read too much into it, but it is very interesting. Oh, is that what that was supposed to be there? Is that supposed to be a trident? Okay, well, whatever. Not going to read too much into it, but that is very interesting. Last little thing here. Chem Goblin pointed this out in the Discord, and I wanted to report it. Hold on. By the way, folks, please like and subscribe to this content creator. Kings and Generals. That was an excellent video. Okay, that was I wish I had my soundboard. I'd be hitting the applause button. That really was an excellent video, presented extremely well. So please like and subscribe on Kings and Generals, please. That was some extremely good content. But yeah, I wanted to point this out. This is a very passionate thing for Chem Goblin. He and I agree with the assessment that Russia weaponizes its culture. It will take over areas and then force those areas to learn Russian. You're no longer a citizen of whatever country that used to exist here. You're now a citizen of Russian. You speak Russian. Russian history is more important than the history of your country. That kind of stuff that does happen. So it's really good to see headlines like this where the Ukrainian language dominance is growing on social media. So we're starting to see people, reject Russia's attempt to culturally assimilate Ukraine. So it seems like a small thing, but this is actually this is a for Ukrainians. We also saw this with their celebration of Christmas, no longer following the dates that Russia has chosen for its Orthodox Christmas celebration, instead choosing the December 25th, the Western Western Christmas. It's just more rejection of the assimilation, like I'm talking about. And little things like this can actually be pretty big in changing the zeitgeist. So it's good news. I wish we weren't here. I wish we could just speak whatever language and there weren't politics attached to it. But we don't live in that luxury. That we don't get that luxury. Okay, we live in the real world where things are complicated and politics is deeply entrenched in everything that we do. So deal with it. Suck it up. It sucks. Admit that it sucks. Be like, yeah, this sucks, dude. But if we don't have fighters, if we don't have people capable, strong enough to handle this reality and push back against it and join the fight on the right side, then nothing will change. In fact, things will get worse. That's why I'm here. So there you go, folks. That's my Ukrainian coverage. We're going to move on just real quick. I just wanted to recap here global conflict. So let me just get this in here. Do a conflict update. Hope I spelled conflict correctly. My spelling is absolutely disgusting. Does this website have a night mode? This is hurting my eyes just looking at it. All right, I apologize. I know this is very. Hold on. Let me see what I can do here. 1 second. Do a filter. Let's add this little here. Color key. Yep. Let's go a little crazy. No, I don't want this actually. Get rid of this. Remove. It's like a color correction. Yeah, here we go. Color correction. 1 second. Let me just darken this up or something. Let me just see what I can do here. Oh, wait. That's okay. Okay, never mind. I've completely wasted your time and everything. Hold on. I clicked the wrong goddamn thing. Okay, here we go. Hold on. Hue shift. There we go. I'm making funny colors. That doesn't really help. Defaults. Go back to defaults. Yes, default, please. Brightness. There we go. Okay, that's a little bit better. There we go. Okay. That website on my screen is in dark mode by default. There's a dark mode? Where's the dark mode, dog? Shut up. There ain't no fucking dark mode. But the mobile version has dark mode by default. Great. Because dark mode saves battery. That's why. Okay. All right. Anyway, not to waste any more time on this stupid bullshit. Wanted to cover some of these here. Just wanted to catch up because I had enough time before I left to cover Syria, to cover some Lebanon news, but I just wanted to jump in real quick and just go through. So let's go ahead. We're going to skip Americas and let's not skip any. Let's just go down the list. So criminal violence in Mexico, instability in Haiti. Okay, we were covering that. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Latest news. Kenyan court extends order to block Haiti development by 2 weeks. Great. Crime in Haiti reaches record high. UN says the security situation has deteriorated further with indiscriminate killings, kidnappings, rapes, and attacks. Okay, so some great news. Former Justice Ministry official arrested outside of Port-au-Prince. Prime suspect in the 2021 murder of former President Juvenal Moise. So he was part of the assassination. And this is the problem that we see in a lot of these third world countries is just massive corruption. Yeah, we don't need a background. I just want the latest news here. Wow, a lot of background. Recent developments. As the ill-equipped Haitian nation police force further deteriorates due to personal loss and corruption, some Haitian citizens have taken matters into their own hands. On April 24th, 2023, a group overpowered police and burned alive the 14 suspected gang members in their custody. Jesus, dude. So a fucking mob broke into the police station and killed these 14 gang members. Yes, Chem Goblin. Yeah, look, volunteer TV marathon from institutions, key. Here's the image I translated and recolored for you guys. Okay, I'm sorry, Kim Goblin. Could you maybe have brought this up when I was talking about Ukraine instead of waiting until I'm talking about a completely different subject to bring that up? I will bring that up during my next Ukraine segment. Okay, Kim Goblin. I'm sorry, I was busy hosting a show. But I will talk about that the next stream. Okay, I promise. So there you go. That's your Haiti update. What's happening in Venezuela here? Okay, I'm looking at the status in terms of conflict status. Over to Asia, instability in Afghanistan. Oh yeah, okay, the Taliban over here. Let's see what they're up to. This is a very useful website. I really enjoy this website. This is cool. Concerns, recent developments. So in November, Taliban announced a state of new extreme laws. Taliban has also made it difficult for aid agencies to operate in Afghanistan by harassing aid workers and banning women. So it's all related to their extreme, religious incel sexism. It's insane, dude. They won't let male aid workers pull women out of collapsed buildings because of their stupid fucking book. Oh, you can't touch her. You can't touch her. She's dying. You can't touch her. It's against my book. The Taliban's a fucking menace. And we had an opportunity to do something about it. For about 20 years, we put how many trillions? Was it $2-3 trillion? $4 trillion? We could have actually done something, but we didn't. We didn't even end up stealing the lithium. They got a massive lithium deposit over there. Couldn't even steal that. You got your Windows in light mode. I think Global Combat Tracker might just follow your desktop theme. Oh, okay. Let's see here. I don't know. Where's dark mode? System appearance. Where's dark mode? Right, whatever. Instability in Pakistan. Let's see here. Let's take a look. In Windows. Yeah, whatever. Worsening. Okay, so we got a Pakistan update. Pakistan, more than 70,000 people have returned to Afghanistan in recent weeks. This according to the Pakistani authorities, who are monitoring departures ahead of November 1st deadline for deportation that applies to some 1.7 million undocumented Afghans living in Pakistan. Wow. So on November 1st, so like tomorrow, 1.7 million undocumented Afghani people need to get out of Pakistan. Boy, I wonder how that's going to go down. I'm sure that's not going to be a fucking disaster. Pakistan issues final warning for undocumented immigrants to leave. Government officials said that all the illegal immigrants have been identified, and those who do not leave by November 1st deadline will be expelled. What the fuck does that mean? As of 3 minutes ago. Thank you, Davey. We're getting to our Gaza section very soon. Like I said, I just wanted to catch up a little. Pakistan greenlights creation of deportation centers for Afghan migrants. Here we fucking go, folks. Here we fucking go. Is there really no solution? These people just got to go. That's the only solution. And what's the Taliban's plan? No, we don't want the women. Keep all the women. Women scare us. The centers are part of a plan to arrest and repatriate hundreds of thousands of unauthorized Afghan migrants beginning next month. The announcement comes ahead of Pakistan's November 1st deadline for all unregistered foreigners to return to their countries of origin or face deportation. The United Nations has urged Pakistan to suspend its plan, and Afghanistan's Taliban government called it unacceptable. Taliban calling it unacceptable. Yeah, they left for a reason, Welcome back, Clutch Cargo. So look forward to that. Tomorrow, there's going to be a massive migrant crisis. There's going to be a massive fucking migrant crisis, and the Pakistani government is going to implement a brute force deportation, expatriate 1.7 million people tomorrow. So look forward to that in the news. Not that I agree with deportation, but it's better than the kill option. Yeah. Glass half full. Glass half full over here, guys. Come on. Come on. All right, so instability. Yeah, okay, so North Korea crisis. What's happening in North Korea? Whatever. Confrontation over Taiwan, civil war in Myanmar, or in Ukraine, Nagorno-Karabakh. So we've covered this one. The Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. So this is I believe this was kind of an attempt to take a chunk of a country, and it failed. Oh my God, the filter is not doing. Okay, hold on, sorry. You know what I mean? You try to fix something, and you just break other shit. Just nothing works here. Let me just try to just a little bit. It's a little bit more legible. Settings, personalization, colors. Choose your color, light. Why is that so buried? That should be on the main menu, dark mode. There should be a dark mode button on this menu. Okay, settings, personalization. This is so dumb. It's different. I don't have this. I don't have personalization. Whatever. Wait, no, I'm not going to go into my Windows settings, man. Armenia PA says, nearing a peace deal with Azerbaijan, Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan said that his government could sign a peace agreement with Azerbaijan in the coming months and unveiled a plan to reopen roads and railways that have been long blocked. The two governments have experienced hostile relations for 3 decades. Well, that sounds like good news. Iran hosts Armenia, Azerbaijan peace talks. All right. Hey, man, we got some good news here. Foreign ministers from Turkey and Russia also joined the talks in Tehran. Iran said that countries want to talk without the interference of non-regional and Western countries. And look, I mean, I'm no fan of Iran. You know what I'm saying? But the West, honestly, you know, doesn't deserve any credit for abandoning these areas and honestly not really providing any kind of solutions. The West just kind of waits in the wings and sees if they can take advantage of the situation. And if they can't, then fuck it. Who cares? If people are suffering, not our problem. We're not the world's police. Except when we want to butt our nose into the situation when it could benefit us. Then we're the world's police. Okay, so there we go. That's an interesting piece of good news there. This is, you know, Armenia, Azerbaijan. There's I believe there was an ethnic minority of Armenians, or was it Azerbaijanis who were living in Armenia in the Nagorno-Karabakh region, and they were just expelled. The whole town emptied. Azerbaijan took back territory it owns according to UN borders. Yeah, so that was the scenario. But it was just really bizarre. Like a whole village emptied, just left. They all left. All right, so we got time for a couple more of these bad boys. Instability in Iraq. I just wanted to mention, I don't have time to dig into it because it's limited here, but it's unchanging. But the United States still has bases in Iraq. Okay. Good to mention that this is the mission accomplished Iraq. Okay. They left out of fear. Yeah, Davey, I mean, come on. I mean, true. They weren't told to leave. Yes. Someone answer the fucking phone, please. Thank you. Yes, Davey is correct. They were not expelled. They weren't told to leave. They were given passports by force, and they said, you have to take this passport. They refused to take the passport, and there was ambiguity. There was some ambiguity about, well, what's going to is it going to be violent? You know, is it going to be violence? Is this going to be an ethnic cleansing situation? So they left. But it's interesting to see peace talks happening already. That is interesting because it seemed like a very nasty situation that wasn't going to lead to any kind of peace. But I guess it's necessary. You got to start those discussions right away. Instability in Lebanon. Conflict between Turkey and armed Kurdish groups. Now that's ongoing for certain. Israel, Palestine, of course. Libya. Civil conflict in Libya. I believe we covered a little bit of Libya recently. UN warns of clashes amid communications blackout in Benghazi, Libya. Authorities claim the outage is due to a broken cable, but the UN and Libyan media have reported fighting between Khalifa Haftar's Libyan National Army and a smaller armed faction. The LNA is intolerant of internal opponents. Figure. Is this guy? This guy is showing a class of a landmine? Oh, yeah. So a member of the self-styled Libyan National Army gives a class aimed at raising awareness about mines and explosives to schoolboys in Benghazi, Libya. So it is Benghazi. Oh boy, that word is triggering. That is just a big trigger for me, Benghazi. That is just bringing back some PTSD over here about the Hillary Clinton, never-ending Hillary Clinton hearings. Well, you'll have to look. Type Hillary Clinton and Benghazi and prepare to have your brain melt. War in Yemen. Let's see here. A lot of conflicts. A lot of conflicts, folks. Let's see what's going on in the war in Yemen. Israel implies missile that hit Egypt likely launched from Yemen. The IDF said that the missile that struck the town of Taba originated from, quote, the Red Sea area. The incident comes a week after the U.S. and Saudi forces shot down missiles fired towards Israel from Yemen. U.S. destroyer shoots down missiles potentially headed towards Israel from Yemen. And we get a good look at what their operations look like. You know, this is how they launch their rockets. They pull up and fire away and then scoot the hell out of there. U.S. envoy meets with Yemeni officials in Riyadh to discuss next steps. The envoy, Hans Grudenberg, also met with regional and international officials on a trip to discuss measures to achieve a nationwide ceasefire, an improvement in living conditions, and an inclusive peace process in Yemen. Interesting. So this is a UN envoy. God, I mean, is the UN worth a damn? Is the UN even worth a fucking damn anymore? I don't. It's not like I want to get rid of the UN, but I don't know, man. It just seems like they just make statements and then the countries do whatever the fuck they want anyway. Okay. Yemen National Airline resumes flights from Sana'a. All right, we got a power struggle in Sudan. Yep, we did cover this as well a couple months ago. Sudan's army accepting invitation to attend talks on pausing the war. Well, another little bit of good news, maybe. The talks are due to occur in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, the site of previous U.S. and Saudi-mediated talks that failed to stem fighting at the outset of the war between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. UK Minister, violence in Western... So this is from the UK Minister. Violence in Western Sudan bears all hallmarks of ethnic cleansing. Boy, we're seeing a lot of use of this term. Damn shame it's relevant. Marks the first time that the British government has used the term to describe events in the Sudanese war that began in April. Armed militias have set at least 68 villages on fire in Darfur. Awesome. The UN will never be anything while is a permanent member with veto power. That's a good point. Yeah, no, the whole concept of one member getting to just veto anything they want is so amazingly anti-democratic. I'm shocked it became part of the framework, but I guess that was the only way to get the United States on board, was to say, yeah, you get to run the whole thing. You're in charge. You can say no to anything that you want, and we all have to agree. I mean, because at the end of World War II, the United States was the big dog. It was the top dog. And nothing was going to happen without Uncle Sam's thumbs up. All right, so there you go. Sudan, violent extremism in Sahel worsening. We have not reported on this one. Oh no, Niger's opposition supporters run as they... Okay, so this is in Niger. So no, we actually did cover this. U.S. removed Niger from African Growth and Opportunity Act. The United States will remove the Central African Republic, CAR, Gabon, Niger, and Uganda from the trade program over gross violations of human rights in the Central African Republic and Uganda, as well as Niger and Gabon's failure to make progress on political pluralism and the rule of law, President Joe Biden said. So, I mean, The corruption is insane, but let's be real. Let's be fucking real here. The United States and the Western alliances are only interested in exploiting. They're only interested in exploiting. They're not interested in helping. So when they're like, "Oh, you guys are too corrupt. You're not, the warlords that we would normally support are just too corrupt. So now we're going to take our toys and go home. How about you try helping this country or all of these countries, the Central African Republics, Uganda, Niger, Gabon. Oh, we're leaving. Oh, we can't exploit you anymore. Bye." Niger's economy in crisis since the July coup. So yeah, that was what we were covering there. Sanctions and suspension of international aid by many partners have forced Niger's junta to cut the national budget by 40%. And the World Bank estimates its GDP will drop by 2.3% this year in the absence of sanctions. UN mission in Mali forced to rush withdraw. So this is the last little bit here. MINUSMA has had to sabotage equipment left behind amid escalating fighting in the north of the country, and peacekeepers have had to withdraw via the dangerous road route due to a lack of flight permits. Meanwhile, Cameroon requested that Chad remove its forces from an island in Lake Chad where they have been fighting Boko Haram since 2014 with Cameroon's permission. And U.S. Department officially declares what happened in Gabon was a coup. I mean, that's obvious it was. It's interesting, though, that the U.S. wants the old Gabonese leader back. We did a little research on this guy that the West is like, oh, he got deposed and it's a coup. The guy's been running Gabon for 50 fucking years, and Gabon doesn't even have running fucking water. So this family dynasty that has been fucking over this entire country for 50 fucking years. Now we're like, oh yeah, well, they're the legitimate government. The fuck they are. They've been stealing elections for God knows how long. Everybody hates them. They were cheering in the streets when a military coup took over because the leader was such an asshole, so corrupt. He's living in the lap of luxury. He gets running water. He gets plumbing. But your average Gabonese citizen, you're lucky if you get a well dug. You're lucky if you got a well in your village, let alone running water and electricity. So, yeah, the whole situation, man, the way that the West treats Africa, like I said, every third world country that doesn't have a potential for exploitation just gets the shit end of the stick, man. Legitimate doesn't mean righteous or even good at the job. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But here's the thing. It's like the West needs to come in and mediate and like, instead of dropping bombs, run some elections, with the agreement of the government, and like you don't just run in there with a ballot box like Russia does. Russia running in with a ballot box. Everyone vote. Oh, you're a new independent region. But no, I mean, the U.S. can come in and say, no, we're doing an independent. This is an independent election. This is obviously a Gabonese election, but it's being run independently to avoid corruption. And of course, the leader of Gabon would never agree to that for obvious reasons. So I don't even know what I'm talking about. It's not even a real solution. I'm just completely up my own fucking privileged white ass. Doesn't even know what the fuck he's talking about. And we'll end it with the confrontation in Iran here. Prominent Iranian human rights lawyer reportedly arrested. Wall Street Journal reporting around 500 Palestinian militants trained in Iran ahead of Hamas attack. Yeah, fat lot of good that does. Their military strategy is like, I'm no expert, dude, but it seems like they put all their effort into the paragliders, and then there's like, okay, we're good. Where's the mining? They didn't even mine Gaza City. Maybe they did, and I just haven't seen reports on it. Blinken to Iran. U.S. will respond swiftly and decisively to any attack. Iran, by the way, is we're gonna get into it next. This is a great transition, but Iran is already showing cold feet already making gestures that they're not going to be supporting Hamas through Hezbollah. They were, you'll see in a second, but they were making comments of making fun of the Hezbollah leadership who lives in luxury while their soldiers are being martyred. Iran sentences 2 journalists to prison for allegedly collaborating with the U.S. The Iranian justice system is a joke, so who knows what's true. U.S. announces sanctions on Iran's weapons program as UN restricts sunset. Well, those work great. Iran calls for oil embargo on Israel. Yeah, okay. All right, so there you go, folks. Just a global conflict update. Real quick, let's get Chem Goblin's thing in here. He made us an image. This is something to something. I actually don't know what this is. Let's just take a look at this. Copy. What is this? Copy link. Yeah, then I should be able to paste it right here. Well, Chem Goblin put in a lot of work here. So let's hear. This is what Chem had to say. From May 2002 to October 2023, a decrease in trust in the institutions of the central government in Ukraine can be observed. I see. So this is a chart about the trust in central government in Ukraine. This is evidenced by the survey data conducted by the Kyiv International Institute of Sociology from September 3rd to October 13th. There's a link to the source of the data. Here is an image I translated and recolored for you guys. Well, thank you so much, Chem Goblin, for all of your hard work. So this is a bad sign then. We're seeing the Ukrainian people lose trust in their government. We're not seeing enough being done for corruption. And if correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard some grumblings that we might not see a presidential election, that there actually might be popular support to not have a presidential election until the war is over with. No, it's not just corruption. It's not just corruption that's making the Ukrainian government unpopular. I see. It's probably more of war fatigue. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that sounds all logical to me. It's interesting to see the drop for Zelensky here. Got May 2022, he's riding pretty high. And the terror campaign, war fatigue, Russia knows how to torture. Russia knows how to do terror, as does the United States. But these empires are brutal. And they understand that human beings can only withstand so much suffering. So such a terrible game that they play. But yeah, thank you, Chem Goblin. This is actually very informative and very depressing. Interesting here, local government hasn't really changed much at all. People are like, yeah, they're not, they weren't great before and they're not great now. Government overall, wow, this is a massive drop right here. I'm not sure what this means. TV marathon, is that like TV? It's like media, like news media. Interesting drops here. Support for volunteers is just as strong as before, and trust in AFU and volunteers hasn't budged. Yeah. What is the AFU? Interesting, though, to see the drop for Zelensky here. That is pretty big. All right. Thank you, Chem Goblin, for all your hard work. There's a 24/7 TV marathon since the full-scale invasion. Armed Forces of Ukraine. Oh, I see. Okay. So support of the military and volunteers has changed very little. Okay. Rada is the parliament. Yeah, this makes sense. If this was the United States, this would be like 5 or 8 people in the United States hate their fucking Congress. They hate it. It's interesting. There's an interesting phenomenon though. They hate all of Congress, but they love their congressman. It's like, oh, it's not my guy. My guy's good guy. My guy's there to change it. And across the entire nation, that's what everyone thinks. Thank you, Chem Goblin, for your hard work. That is a very useful bit of information there. Okay, here we go. Now the fun begins, folks. Now we're having some fun. Yeah, here we go with Gaza. Gaza, Gaza. Gaza. Gaza, 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 Gaza. Fun. We're having fun. This is someone, man. We got to calm down, man. We're having too much fun. Too much fun over here. Gaza. Gaza. Big props to Slick Wolf. Got her tied to the tree. This is the sound of the underground, folks. All right. Who do you support? Who do you support? Is it a one-word answer? Just a one-word answer? Israel, huh? So you fully agree with the Israeli right-wing government in their attempts to destroy the judiciary? Turn this down here. So you fully agree with the, yes, 100%. You think Bibi Netanyahu should have the ability to nullify any kind of investigation against him and his party? You think a politician should be able to do that? If the FBI was investigating Joe Biden should be able to just say, nope, you can't investigate me. You're okay with that in Israel. Bibi Netanyahu commits unbelievable crimes, doesn't matter. Bibi Netanyahu can say, nope, you have to stop investigating me. It's impossible for me to commit a crime. So you agree with that? So I asked you a question. You agree with Bibi Netanyahu turning himself into a dictator? You think that's a good thing? You know, because you say, I support Israel, so that, you know, you support the Israeli right-wing government. You gonna answer the question there, big boy? Yes, I think Bibi Netanyahu should be a dictator. He should be able to nullify investigations into him and his party. Got a lot of silence. A lot of silence from this guy. All right. Whatever. All right. All right. So thank you, Davey, for this update. I don't like the president, but describe to me what you would do. I, as a leftist activist in the West, would protest against Joe Biden and his support of the Israeli right-wing government. I would insist that the United States stop sending military aid in an effort to force the right-wing Israeli government to come to the table, end the occupation, and give Palestine the statehood that it deserves. That's what I would do. What would you do? Kill everybody? So what's the plan? Is it push everybody into the ocean, kill everybody, or exile everybody into Egypt or Jordan? Which one is your solution? Which one do you like? Exile everybody into Jordan or Egypt, kill them all. It's certainly not end the occupation, right? So I asked you a question, jackass. I asked you a question. Which one do you agree with? You know, push 1.1 million people into southern Gaza and call it a day. Exile 1.1 million, expatriate 1.1 million people into Jordan or Egypt, or of course, kill them all. Which one? Which big solution do you agree with? You know, because obviously Israel isn't going to give it up. I mean, we're occupying; they're not going to leave. It's Israel's now, right? Which one? Which one, tough guy? Exile? You're gonna? By the way, do you think Egypt or Jordan is going to be cool with that? You dumping 1 million Palestinians into their country? Answer the question, pussy. Answer the question, tough guy. Say it. Say it. Say it. Say kill them all. That's what you're talking about, right? I'm a victim, so I'm justified in murdering 1 million people. Say it. That's what you want to do. You want to kill 1.1 million Palestinians. Right? It's the only way. It's all justified. It's in my book. It's all God says it's cool. Uncle Sam says it's cool. Say it. Say it, you fucking coward. You can't even say it? You can't even say it, huh? That's what you want, but you're such a coward you can't even admit to yourself. I want a genocide. That's what I want. That's the only solution. Right. Okay. So thank you, Davey, once again for this link. This shows Israel's current occupation. I notice you're not answering the question. You're avoiding the question. You know. We'll just give you a timeout because I got news to do here, buddy. I'm not gonna sit here and waste my time with bad actors. It's so crazy, right? Full blown support of genocide, but I'm the bad guy because I disagree with it. And for the record, of course, I don't support Hamas, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I'm not anti-Semitic. It doesn't matter that I don't support Hamas. All of this is just you support evil, and it's all justified what I do. That's what it's about. So Israel is not going to leave. Here we have Israel invading the northern part of Gaza. This is part of the plan. They're going to take this entire region, and the Palestinians, the 1.1 million Palestinians who may be expatriated to a different country, might be put into some kind of tent city that looks pretty similar to a camp, I'm sure, or just slaughtered. Either way, the 1.1 million inhabitants of this city will be exiled one way or the other. And Israel historically has never respected the quote unquote right to return. So there is something called the right to return in international law that basically says if you're a country that has exiled a people, a population, you are obligated to allow those people to return to their lands. And of course, they've never respected that. They've taken the entire country. There's not much left to take. This is exactly what I talked about. They need something big. Hamas delivered, man. Hamas delivered on that propaganda level so well. You would think Hamas was fucking hired by Bibi Netanyahu. How effective Hamas has been at achieving Israel's goals. Oh, funny. Oh my God. A delicious chicken salad from my lovely wife. Thank you, honey. That's an interesting map. Israel has already nearly cut Gaza in half, and they're never gonna give it back. And just lost internet for a second, and we're back. They're never going to give it back. All of this language of victimhood, and it's all framing to justify this incredibly barbaric act. And quite frankly, I think if Israel does it slow enough and doesn't just murder everybody here, the West, Uncle Sam, is going to let them do it. Uncle Sam is absolutely going to let them do it. Thank you, Lenny. I agree. So the latest news, Israel, which is of course fully justified in killing as many people as possible because they're all terrorists anyway, has bombed a refugee camp. I'm sure Hamas was firing rockets out of it, or there was a tunnel underneath, or someone's cousin was connected to Hamas. So everybody was a human shield, and everyone had to be killed. And it's just so sad. It's just so sad, that Israel had no choice but to bomb a refugee camp filled with civilians. Israel just had no choice, guys. This is about defense.
At least 50 people are said to have been killed and many more injured in a blast at the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza. Well, those figures come from the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry, which
I agree. Strategy.
The camp came under Israeli fire. We're yet to hear from the Israeli military. The BBC is still establishing.
They didn't do it.
The details.
It was I don't know, Hamas rocket or whatever. They didn't do it.
Show people searching for survivors.
If it's bad, they didn't do it.
And pulling bodies from the rubble. Now, Israel earlier said its forces are striking targets in all parts of Gaza, with fierce battles being reported with Hamas. Let me show you these pictures from Israel's defense forces showing their troops carrying out ground operations. The IDF says it has encountered anti-tank missiles and machine gun fire as they advance into Gaza. A spokesman said it was hunting commanders of Hamas and attacking infrastructure. Meanwhile, this video was released by Hamas.
The commanders of Hamas are not in Gaza.
They say that the people you can see surrounded.
Oh shit! Very quiet. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was very quiet. I'm gonna start the report over. That was very quiet. I'm very sorry about that.
At least 50 people are said to have been killed and many more injured in a blast at the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza. Well, those figures come from the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry, which also says the camp came under Israeli fire. We're yet to hear from the Israeli military. The BBC is still establishing the details. Pictures from the scene, as you can see, show people searching for survivors and pulling bodies from the rubble. Now, Israel earlier said its forces are striking targets in all parts.
Davey, do you honestly think that killing leaders is going to be effective? Terrorist cells, terrorist organizations intentionally build a hierarchy that does not fully depend on generals and leaders. You don't, because of the potential to be assassinated at any moment. This whole idea that it's somehow going to be effective. You're taken out. I mean, because I remember Afghanistan. I remember Iraq. A high level Taliban, high level ISIS, high level ISIL, taken out. Oh, big win. ISIL still exists. Taliban's never been more powerful. So this canard, love that word. It's a fucking canard that we're going to be able to effectively extinguish Hamas by killing a few fucking high level idiots.
Parts of Gaza, with fierce battles being reported with Hamas. Let me show you these pictures from Israel's defense forces showing their troops carrying out ground operations. The IDF says it has encountered anti-tank missiles and machine gun fire as they advance into Gaza. A spokesman said it was hunting commanders of Hamas and attacking infrastructure. Meanwhile, this video was released by Hamas. They say that the people you can see surrounded by tanks are in a firefight with Israeli soldiers in northern Gaza over the weekend. The Palestinian Red Crescent says the area around the Al-Quds hospital in Gaza City has again been under heavy bombardment. The health ministry says more than 8,500 people have been killed.
Look, folks, the reason why the Israeli military is lying about why it's striking hospitals, and like I said before, I think that one, the big controversy a couple weeks ago about Israel striking a hospital, I'll give that one to Israel. Like it doesn't really look, it does look like a failed Hamas rocket launch, even though we only have one video really to analyze, which is fascinating. You know, there's like 300 cameras on Gaza, but we got one video of that, whatever. But the reason why you bomb a hospital is so that people leave. People leave. If there's nowhere for them to go, if they're hurt, it's more motivation to get out of there. So for, you know, Israel saying, oh, there's a Hamas headquarters underneath the hospital, that's why we're going to have to flatten the hospital. The reason why you do that is if you are an occupying force, if you are planning on taking over a chunk of this land, a great way to motivate people to get out of there is if they have no recourse on getting hurt. There's no hospital. You know, you have a baby, you stub your toe, you get some kidney stones, you're screwed. So you got to leave. You got to go. That's why you blow up the hospital. That's why you justify it. That's why you attack hospitals, is so that people leave.
Killed in the past 3 weeks. Israel says over 1,400 Israelis were killed in the Hamas attacks on October the 7th. Well, let's go straight to our diplomatic correspondent, Paul Adams, who's in Jerusalem. And Paul, what more can you tell us about the blast at the Jabalia camp?
Well, Matthew, I think you've shown some of the pictures. They are pretty shocking. That crater is huge, an absolutely enormous hole surrounded by vast quantities of rubble, and then homes and buildings around there that have been obviously severely damaged, either in the course of this incident or perhaps over the course of the last 3 weeks. Jabalia, in case viewers are wondering, is the largest of the refugee camps in the Gaza Strip, home to around 120,000 people before this war began, packed into an area of about 1.5 square kilometers. It's not tents, it's buildings that have been there for decades and tightly packed streets. And we think, judging by the number of people who are there looking in the rubble to try and find bodies and survivors, there are still hundreds, maybe thousands of people still in the area, despite days and days of Israeli warnings for people to leave northern Gaza. So it is likely that any airstrike on Jabalia, and this does appear to be an airstrike, that kind of crater is really only consistent with a large munition dropped from the air, then
paid for by U.S. tax dollars, by the way. Money out of your pocket paid for this if you live in the U.S.
It is almost inevitable that large numbers of civilians who have chosen to stay.
Woke Patriot, welcome back. I wanted to acknowledge that I gave you credit for being correct that the Ukraine-Russia war was going to be a long conflict. I'd like to give you credit for that. Let you know that I did. You were right, bud. You were right.
In the north will have been caught up in this. That figure of around 50, which is the number counted by journalists on the scene from Agence France Presse, that appears to be the minimum number of people caught up in this obviously huge explosion.
Paul, you were mentioning some of the geography of the Gaza Strip, but over the last week and more, we've heard from the Israelis urging people, ordering people to leave the north, to go to the south of the Wadi Gaza. Just tell us a little more about where this camp is within that sort of geography, north-south, and this line that the Israelis have talked about.
Yeah, so Jabalia is north of Gaza City, so it's between Gaza City and the border fence with Israel. So it is not far from the areas where Israeli forces have been pushing in on the ground. They're not there yet. They haven't reached those really densely populated areas yet, but they are gradually pushing forward on a number of areas in the north. At the same time, we've seen the movement of Israeli forces south of Gaza City, closer to Wadi Gaza, in what looks like an attempt to cut off Gaza City from the rest of the Gaza Strip. That would be entirely consistent with the messaging that we've been hearing from the Israelis really since this war began 3 weeks ago, which is to try and tell everybody to move south of that line. They the Israelis feel that they have a lot that they need to achieve in the wider Gaza City area.
I refuse to believe that the Israeli government thinks that they're going to eradicate Hamas. This is literally all justification to push out 1.1 million Palestinians and take a large chunk of the Gaza Strip. It's the end goal is to eliminate Palestine. Is that, you know, once I guess, you know, I don't know the order of things. Are they going to go, you know, are they going to finish Gaza, then go to the West Bank and push everybody out there, have some justification? You know, but the goal is to destroy Palestine and to take all of it. That has been the goal for several decades now, quite frankly. But it is unquestionable now with Ben-Gvir and Bibi Netanyahu where the direction, what the goal of this project is. There's no two-state solution. The only solution in their eyes is complete domination. And quite frankly, Ben-Gvir couldn't care if they were all slaughtered or 3 million people dumped into Jordan. Does not care.
Is where many Hamas fighters will be located. That is where a lot of the bunkers and tunnels that we've heard the Israelis talking about a great deal.
Look up Ben-Gvir. Look up his statements. I'm not being hyperbolic here. The man is an absolute menace.
And over the past few weeks, that's where all of that is located. And so I think it is likely that as the days go by, more and more focus will be on this very, very densely populated area. What we don't know is how many people, civilians, remain in that area. We do know that there are thousands of people sheltering at Shifa Hospital, where the Israelis allege that Hamas has bunkers underneath. We know of thousands of people sheltering at the Al-Quds Hospital in another part of Gaza City. And there are UN schools and medical facilities dotted about this entire area where people are still sheltering. So it is safe to assume that there are still many, many thousands of people.
Lenny, I do think Bibi Netanyahu's precarious legal situation is part of the reason why we're seeing this happen. But honestly, it was going to happen. I mean, like I said, listen to the language of Ben-Gvir, listen to the dog whistling of Bibi Netanyahu, and it was always, you know, they were going to get here one way or the other, right? And then there's all this conspiracy theory about the Bibi Netanyahu government kind of like supporting Hamas, knowing full well that Hamas has in its charter, you know, Israel doesn't exist and we're going to destroy it. But we saw the Bibi Netanyahu government pretend like Hamas was a legitimate government and even opening up work visas, seemingly knowing that something like this was going to happen. I don't know, though. We'll never have proof. It's definitely a conspiracy theory.
People who run the risk of being trapped in Gaza at the very moment when the Israelis turn their attention to it.
Cold Cage's word.
Only this time, yesterday or around this time, we heard Benjamin Netanyahu absolutely adamant there would be no ceasefire. It's interesting, just in the last couple of hours, the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said humanitarian pauses must be considered in Gaza. He was talking to a Senate hearing, but even a pause looks really unlikely at the moment, doesn't it?
I am 100% confident that Hamas uses human shields and Israel uses human shields. They use them differently, but both sides, both governments, if you want to call Hamas even a government, but both entities are perfectly happy putting their citizens in direct danger for its own political projects. They use human shields differently, but they both do. That doesn't, of course, it doesn't make anything right. It's just such a disingenuous, you know, claim. Oh, we get to kill whoever we want because Hamas human shields. First thing Israeli settlers, aka occupiers, do when they steal a Palestinian home is move in women and children. Because it would look really, because politically it looks really terrible when Hamas kills women and children.
I think it does, and actually a pause will not even affect Gaza City at all. The Israelis have made it clear that nothing that goes into Gaza, no aid that goes into Gaza, will go north of that Wadi Gaza line. That, for the Israelis, is absolutely essential. They're happy for aid to go in to the south, to the area where many, many hundreds of thousands of people have fled and are now sheltering, some of them in tents. But even there, the aid that is managing to get across the border from Egypt is just a tiny fraction of what is needed. We've heard American officials and Israeli officials talking in the last couple of...
I want to ask people that are like, well, that's just the cost of doing business. I want to ask those people, have you seen a baby die on an incubator? Have you seen a child die from malnutrition? You know what that looks like? And it's just like there are so many people on the internet calling for things that they couldn't stomach. They couldn't stand above a fucking pit filled with thousands of dead bodies, and yet they call for genocide. They don't have the stomach for it, and yet they want it. Hell, we got the commenter earlier that I had to time out was advocating, was advocating for kill them all, but did not have the guts to say that. Well, he was preemptively making justifications for it. Oh, well, we have no choice. But he couldn't even type it. He couldn't even put the words to the fucking screen. But he wants it.
Days about increasing the number of trucks that go across the border up to around 100. That would be a start, but we haven't got to that point yet. We haven't seen that number of trucks going in on any single day. And even if they were to get in, it would be pretty challenging for the aid agencies to address the needs of those people who are huddled in the south, desperately in need of assistance. But as for the north and anyone north of Wadi Gaza, they are on their own.
Security sources say.
I've made a lot of comments. We're just going to move on to the next video. I have some exclusive footage of, unfortunately from RT, but it is exclusive footage, so I am going to show it. No other news network has been given access like RT has because of Russia being friendly with Hamas, yada, yada, yada. I don't agree with Russia, don't agree with RT, don't agree with Hamas, but I am going to show the footage because it's news. To start off, though, we have a New York Post video that shows some of these tunnels, and then we're going to do the Russia Today video about the Hamas tunnels as well.
Security sources say a Hamas tunnel network hundreds of miles long and up to 260 feet deep, like this one filmed by Reuters back in 2014. Hamas drove a blindfold crew to a secret location and gave them a tour. One expert describes it as the Viet Cong times 10. Freed hostage Joachim.
I mean, these aren't Vietnamese tunnels. These are, look at the cement, look at the reinforcement, look at the construction. I mean, there were, some of the Vietnamese tunnels did have like wood frameworks and things like that, but this is a whole different level.
As the Viet Cong times 10. Freed hostage Yocheved Lifshitz called it a spider's web.
We started walking in the tunnels where the earth was moist and it was always humid. We reached a hall where we gathered, some 25 people.
This video released by Israel's army purports to show part of the tunnel network. Troops will have to enter and battle Hamas.
Well, that really wouldn't surprise me, Davey, but there's no way to prove it. I can only do the best I can, about Twitch and about news in general, about how people don't want to watch this shit. So I'm very thankful for, it looks like I have 13 viewers. I'm very thankful for you. Thank you for being here. And I'm glad you found the realest source of news on Twitch. This is it right here. Nobody keeps it real like I do. Nobody covers the stories I cover, and nobody gets in the weeds with the context and the nuance, like the News Underground does.
Militants, while trying to avoid killing any hostages, snatched during the October 7th Hamas offensive, in which Israel says some 1,400 people, most of them civilians, were slaughtered. Sources familiar with the matter say the tunnels have many purposes: attacks, smuggling, storage, operational and transport. The Gaza Strip is just 25 miles long, but security analysts say the network of tunnels beneath it is extensive. Israel has spent millions of dollars on tunnel detection and destruction, including a sensor-equipped underground barrier that it calls an iron wall. Israel blockades Gaza, so the tunnels have enabled Hamas, which released this video in 2014, to bring in weapons, equipment, money and people, mainly from Egypt. They're one reason why the militant group is stronger in Gaza than in the occupied West Bank, where Israel's settlements, military bases and monitoring devices make it harder to smuggle from Jordan. Israeli security sources say the past week's deadly bombardments have caused little damage to the network. Hamas naval commandos launched this seaborne attack targeting Ashkelon, for example. A former deputy commander of the Israeli division that tackles the tunnels, Amir Avivi, called it a whole city deep below Gaza, connected to at least 1,000 rocket launching positions, also underground.
They feel safe inside the tunnels and they can emerge from the tunnels out and attack our forces anywhere.
Wow, so they can attack your. You better put yourself right in the center of the city. Then you better get your ass in there. Better get your soldiers in the line of fire as quickly as possible, huh? I mean, yeah, you can flatten a city, you can bomb a city, you can destroy a whole city, you know what I mean? But if you want to extract every man, woman, and child from that rubble, you gotta bring in the troops. You gotta bring in the soldiers. I honestly don't think the IDF or the right-wing Israeli government is really grasping the reality of what they're engaging in. Okay, just like the United States with Afghanistan and Iraq. This idea that you can just come on in, blast some Metallica, fucking do a couple Fallujahs and fucking, install a democracy, right? That was a complete ridiculous idea. It went nowhere. And this idea that Israel is going to be able to wipe out Hamas. The gas. You don't think these guys have built airlocks? You don't think these guys have, what you think the tunnel is just a fucking like an animal would build a tunnel and just a straight line or whatever? Yeah. Nerve gas, gonna pump nerve gas in there. Okay. How effective was the United States at stopping the Viet Cong and their tunnels with all of their technology and all the nerve gas, whatever the fuck they were doing with those tunnels? How effective was the United States military at fighting guerrillas and their tunnel network? Pretty goddamn ineffective, if you ask me. Pretty fucking ineffective. They sent a bunch of Americans down in there to fuck with them. Yeah, what did that do? We lost that war. We lost that war. We lost that war to a 17-year-old and a handful of rice in a fucking tunnel in a jungle. And the Israeli military thinks it can somehow magically do better. So grab your barf bags. I'm sorry in advance to all the bad actors that are going to clip this out of context and say, I support Russia or whatever. I support RT. Fuck you in advance. Of course I don't. This is exclusive footage. This is news. Deal with it. Deal with it. They fucking scooped you, Anderson Cooper. They scooped you. Deal with it, Anderson.
من هنا تبدأ الرحلة، رحلة الدخول إلى ما تحت أرض غزة، حبل يمثل الحد الفاصل بين الحياة المدنية وأخرى عسكرية يصنعها عناصر سرايا القدس مترا بمتر. نحن هنا في واحد من أعمق الأنفاق الهجومية التابعة لسرايا القدس، الذراع العسكري لحركة الجهاد الإسلامي. 60 مترا تحت الأرض عمليا. بالطبع الجدران هي من الإسمنت.
This is 100% propaganda, okay? I just need to put it out there for the bad actors in the context and all that. This is propaganda.
بالإضافة إلى السقف المقوس والذي يمنح.
There's no way this entire tunnel network looks like this. There's no fucking way.
هذه الأنفاق قوة كبيرة جدا، والمعلومة التي عرفتها ربما للمرة الأولى أن الأرضية
Okay, do we know how small generators are? Okay, yeah, no, the Israeli fucking government is going to be able to eliminate gas-powered generators. Yeah, guys, okay, yeah, no, this is all reality. Yeah, this is all real life. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know how small a fucking generator is? A pump? They're smaller than wheelbarrows.
أيضا هي من الإسمنت. الفصائل بشكل عام تتابع كل أنشطتها العسكرية من هذه الأماكن. تؤكد السرايا أن جهوزيتها عالية لردع إسرائيل. تقول وحدة النخبة إن وظيفة هذه الأنفاق هجومية، أنفاق تضم عناصر السرايا من شرائح مجتمع غزة كافة في مهمة أساسية تكمن بالتسلل خلف خطوط العدو. مهمة هؤلاء الشباب.
Hey, big props to you, Strategy. Sorry, if I was back home on my original computer, you would have received a big thank you, a big animation. I'm on my laptop. I should probably get off my lazy ass and get that working. Big props to you, Strategy. Slight correction, my name is Abandon Nihilism. My name is not Nihilism. I disagree with nihilism. I fight against nihilism. I'm here to destroy nihilism. I am not nihilism incarnate. Thank you once again for your support of the News Underground and support of this channel. Enjoy your Garbage Fuel mouse pad. Garbage Fuel is, of course, the #1 drink mix company in the world. Garbage Fuel is made from 100% garbage juice. Make sure you purchase Garbage Fuel today and just throw it away. Don't drink it. You can find it at your local store. Any place that has a rancid dumpster, you can basically find some Garbage Fuel. So just look carefully. It's in the back. But thank you, Strategy. Large generator takes to run a ventilation. Okay, woke patriot. Like, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. But this idea that Israel is going to be able to, it's fancy. Right now, it's fantasy. Show me how effective this shit is, and then and then I'll agree with you. But right now, it's strictly in the realm of fantasy that Israel is going to be able to wipe out Hamas, be able to wipe out this tunnel network, nerve gas, and fucking smart bombs. Yeah, Lenny has a couple of those mouse pads. Thank you again, Lenny. Thank you. So I just don't buy it yet. I'm going to need to see some proof that the Israeli military is somehow magically more capable than the United States military in its counterterrorism, counter-guerrilla tactics. I'm going to need to see some fucking proof, okay? Call me skeptical.
الذين يكمنون في هذا النفق هي من أجل المعركة بإذن الله تبارك وتعالى ومن أجل مرحلة الهجوم، وهذا جزء من الإعداد التي أعدته سرايا القدس في وقت سابق. هذه النخبة مشكلة بالدرجة الأولى هي لعمليات خلف خطوط العدو. أن تكون في نفق هجوميا فهذا يعني أن تكون قريبا من السياج الحدودي.
This fucking propaganda, dude. These guys are dressed in like the most expensive, best gear. This is probably like they probably have 20 fucking, they have 20 of these. Everyone get dressed in the nicest Western gear you can find. I think you want to imagine what they will have to do. I just don't think you want to imagine what they will have to do to actually succeed. I mean, Davey, that's a great point. The thing is, though, is that Israel won't be able to get away with that. You can't, the West simply, there's not enough Morning Joe to justify hundreds of thousands of people getting fucking slaughtered. There's just not enough Morning Joe to justify that, to change that narrative. So Israel can't do that. They're going to have to fully facilitate another Nakba. The Nakba saw 750,000 Palestinians exiled from their home, from their territory, all over Palestine, and forced into small areas, the West Bank and Gaza Strip. that were then, of course, diminished and shrunk over the years. There are 1.1 million people in the northern Gaza area that Israel is now occupying. There's probably less because they left. So let's be fair. Let's be fair, and let's just say there's only 800,000, just a 50,000 more than the original Nakba. But Israel is going to have to fund and propagandize a full-blown Nakba, an exile of 1.1 million people, and Morning Joe is going to have to carry that weight. See what I mean? You see how that it just doesn't seem like, something's got to give here, and Joe Biden is gonna be forced to pressure Bibi Netanyahu into ending this insanity. The question is, though, is like, okay, Bibi Netanyahu and Ben Gvir are not going to do that. The goal is to take Palestine completely. So there will be a breaking point of, no, Israel disagrees with you. We're not listening to you, Uncle Sam. We're doing it on our own, and you're going to continue to fund it. You're going to continue to send those checks, bitch. So there will be that break where Israel thinks, yeah, well, they're just going to pay for it anyway, whether they disagree with it or not, because of the ramifications of, being called an anti-Semite, yada yada.
بين إسرائيل وغزة يطول انتظار العناصر داخل هذه الأنفاق خلال المواجهات بانتظار أوامر القيادة العليا فيما تنخفض فعالية الغارات الإسرائيلية بسبب العمق الكبير لهذه الأنفاق.
نحن لم ننقطع عن مرابط الصواريخ التي كنا نطلقها. كنا مباشرة نقوم بتعويض هذه المرابط وتلقيمها من جديد، وهذا لأننا أعددنا أنفسنا لمعركة لربما تأخذ أيام طويلة وربما تأخذ شهور.
النظرة الأولى لهذه الأنفاق تكشف حجم استثمار الفصائل فيها بشريا وماديا. تقول سرايا القدس إن الأنفاق جزء من معركة الصمود أمام الآلة الحربية الإسرائيلية وعامل مهم للتصدي لأي اجتياح لا سيما.
If Israel blows up that hospital saying that there was a Hamas tunnel HQ down there, I want some fucking pictures, dude. I want some fucking pictures. Show me some kind of proof.
وأن بنك أهداف إسرائيل يزيد في كل حرب عن
That it? Oh, this is just, it's Twitter. Okay. Great job, Elon. You're killing it over there, buddy. All right, there you go. That's your little bit of Russia.
لما قبل وقف إطلاق النار.
Twitter's a joke, dude. What is he doing? What is he doing? Can he just sell this and just get this nightmare over with? Sell this company, Elon. Sell this company, dude. Oh, he's such a nightmare. He has completely ruined this website. So I wanted to show this. Chem Goblin was nice enough to put this in the Discord here. Let's go ahead and call this segment Lefties Not Helping the Situation. Okay? Lefties, not helping the fucking situation. Okay, this is animal abuse, even if they are mice. So this asshole decided it was a really clever idea to spray paint a bunch of fucking mice in the colors of the Palestinian flag, and then release them at a McDonald's, and then just dump thousands of mice at a McDonald's. This is somehow supposed to help the Palestinians. You could have, how much money did it, what are you, a mouse farmer? You had to spend money on this. You had to spend money on this, on the containers, on the fucking spray paint. You are not helping. You aren't, and I guarantee, I bet you this guy fully defends Hamas too, right? To the idiots who sound a lot like Hassan that are defending Hamas on the left. Please stop. This isn't resistance. This isn't a resistance movement. It's terrorism. Hamas doesn't fucking care about the Palestinian civilians. That is so fucking clear. In fact, I did a little research today. I was reading an article. In 2018, there was a massive Palestinian civilian protest against Hamas. There was a bit that Hamas then fired. They shot at the protesters with real guns. But there was a fucking protest of Palestinian civilians protesting Hamas. And they shot them up. Okay, so this is the left not helping. This is the left not helping. Does this guy work for Bibi Netanyahu? You know, is this a Israeli psyop? And somehow these people are supposed to interpret this as a pro-Palestinian thing. This is somehow and then he runs like a coward. Yeah, Davey. Yeah. The Hamas does not represent the Gazan citizens. Yeah, I think the kid's reaction is pretty funny. Like, yeah, like they're just chilling. They're just like, you know, after school chilling. And then this poor woman, oh man, look at the fucking, it hit her feet. Oh, this is somehow supposed to be pro-Palestinian. You got Hassan on Twitch over here, making apologetics for Hamas, embarrassing the left. You know, it's not like I agree fully with Vosh or Destiny, but at least they're not defending Hamas. You know, Destiny over here going pretty pro-Israel, but there's a little nuance there if you go to his subreddit or whatever. But some of the comments I'm hearing from Hassan, yeah, Davey, I doubt it. But just look, for lefties, young lefties who want to protest, animal abuse is not the best way to represent whatever cause or side that you're, trying to fight for. Okay, it's not a good look. In fact, you know what I'm saying? It's such a bad look. I'm almost convinced that this is some kind of Israeli attempt to make the Palestinian protesters look bad. It's that bad. It's that out of touch. So there we go. I don't have time to dwell on it, but thank you very much for Woke Patriot for posting this. Several reminders in the Discord, I believe, from Woke Patriot about how Biden's Gaza stance spurs stunning drop in Arab American support. Go figure. And let's not forget, Joe Biden and Donald Trump are neck and neck in the polls. Last time we covered this about a month ago. Maybe things are different. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But Donald Trump and Joe Biden, neck and fucking neck. So this is just what the fascist movement needs. This is just what the fascist movement on the right needs. Just a little advantage. They just need a little dip, some young people who are not going to show up for Biden because he didn't help them out with student loans. Now a bunch of Arab Americans who were, totally down for the Democratic Party, they're gone. Scary. I don't have time to dwell on it. Obviously, if you've been to the News Underground, you know how fervently and deeply we cover the fascist right-wing attempt to destroy American democracy and how little these neoliberals are doing to prevent that. I don't have time to get into it today, but hey, if you like that kind of commentary, hit that follow button. When the neoliberals hand over our democracy to the Republicans for the final time, will they apologize even? Or no, it's our fault. It's the liberals' fault because we didn't vote in lockstep with the corporatist neoliberal party that wants to do nothing for us. That's what's going to happen, isn't it? When Joe Biden and the neoliberals hand our democracy over to fascists who are promising to destroy it, and then they destroy it, will we even get a mea culpa? Will we even get a little bit of self-reflection from this party that made itself irrelevant by flouting the law and allowing right-wingers to just shit all over our country? How come Jim Jordan is not in jail? How come the Speaker of the House, the current Speaker of the House, is not in jail? Why? Because they wore a suit and they had a title? That is the failure of the neoliberals. They put Republicans in charge of the January 6th Commission. And gosh, go figure, it did nothing. It did little. It did a little. It did little. Thank you, Davey, for that incredibly depressing update. Thank you so much. No, seriously, thank you for backing up what I'm saying. This is a link. I think this is Davey's link is more accurate. This is old, but this shows the initial stages of the Israeli siege on the Gaza Strip. I'm going to keep the commentary minimal on this one. I'm just going to read the headline. Go ahead and give you the link. All yours. Go ahead, check it out. Israeli envoy, I assume to the UN. Israeli envoy wears yellow star at UN, drawing criticism from Holocaust Memorial Center. Quick reminder, Israel is the eternal victim, guys. Israel is the eternal victim. Yeah, woke patriot. Yeah, but I mean, it's like, it's not just Trump, though. Look at the new Speaker of the House. The Republican Party is MAGA, is the party of MAGA, is the party of Trump, regardless of what happens to Trump. I'm not getting into it, Chem Goblin. Look into the history of the yellow star and the Holocaust. Okay, I'm not going there. So yeah, here we go. Hezbollah mocks Hamas leaders' luxurious lifestyle while Gazans suffer. So let me just fix this here real quick. It's driving me bananas. There we go. Get this up here just a touch. The background was, it's still doing it. It's still doing it. The background is leaking through the window. It's driving me nuts here. Sorry, folks. So it looks like Hezbollah is getting some cold feet. Hezbollah mocks Hamas leaders' luxurious lifestyle while Gazans suffer. So famously, the leaders of Hamas don't live in the Gaza Strip. They're living in luxury, in Jordan, I believe. Maybe Egypt. Lebanese politicians, journalists, among others, who are affected by the Hezbollah terror group, blah, 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 blah. Hezbollah mocks Hamas leaders' luxurious lifestyle while Gazans suffer. The Iran-backed group say former Hamas leader Khalid Mashal's hold open a second front against Israel from Lebanon would not be answered. Looks like Iran got some cold feet. Looks like Hezbollah isn't going to open up that second front. They're not going to open up that second front. Oh no! Hamas wasn't prepared for that. I think Hamas was absolutely expecting Hezbollah to kick in and open up a second front. Interesting. All right. We'll see what comes of this, but it is a very interesting statement because it does signal that Hezbollah is not going to be coming to Hamas's rescue. But well, we'll wait. We'll wait for more information on that one.
Well, join me now to discuss this.
Okay, I don't have time. So important.
In Britain and America.
Okay, this is an important video. Okay, this isn't this. I was just going to comment on the comments section here. I have to show this Cenk Uygur video. I'm going to try not to comment on it because I basically just fully agree with Cenk Uygur on this one. And I agree with his tone. I agree with his anger. I agree with his loudness. I just wanted to play this because I think it's very important. If you've already seen this, go ahead and take a coffee break, come back in 15. But I need to show this because I do agree with Cenk Uygur on this, and I think his anger is fully justified.
Is the founder of the world's most influential progressive online channel, the Young Turks, Democratic president.
No, Piers Morgan, no.
Presidential hopeful. That's Cenk Uygur. Cenk, great to have you.
I swear to God, they intentionally fuck Cenk's name up. I think they do it intentionally.
On the program. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. I'll be following your tweets with interest this week. You've been getting increasingly angry, I think it'd be fair to say. You said, I'm now enormously frustrated by US and Israeli government's barbaric acts in Gaza. I will not be shy in sharing that opinion on Piers Morgan's show today. Why are you so frustrated?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I didn't expect the framing that you put on this segment, and it's framing like that. That's disgusting. So I don't see what this has anything to do with anti-Semitism. I formed Young Turks and TYT with two Jewish friends who are some of my friends growing up. We've known each other and been brothers.
He's talking about Ben Mankiewicz. I'm almost certain. I mean, Ben Mankiewicz has terrible, terrible political opinions. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ben is just fully got, rah, rah, Israel can do no wrong. He really does have very, and the politics guy, God, I had to leave TYT, dude. I had to get out of that fucking ecosystem.
For over 40 years now. So I think what Hamas did is disgusting. I cry for those Israeli innocent civilians. But do I see you guys crying for Palestinians? I mean, Chris Christie was just on here treating it like it's no big deal because what, Palestinian lives don't matter? I think the real bigotry here is saying that Palestinians, we can kill 3 times as many of them already. And this is the appetizer. Netanyahu and his barbaric government have not even started the entree of murder and death and mayhem they're about to do. And that's somehow okay, killing 3 times as many Palestinian civilians, let alone the occupation, which is bigotry by definition. We say that everyone in the world can defend themselves, can have their own state, can have sovereignty, except the Palestinians.
Except Palestine.
And the reasoning behind that is the Palestinians are what? They're what? The idea is that they are savages and that Muslims are too violent and cannot control themselves, so they must be occupied for 56 brutal, disgusting years. So I've had enough of the bigotry against Muslims and Palestinians, and I need you to speak out against that instead of covering every outrageous, atrocious action of the right-wing government of Israel and going, oh, it's anti-Semitism. No, and there is global anti-Semitism. There's anti-Semitism here in this country. 2 synagogues were shot up, Pittsburgh and in Southern California. We fight against that all the time. But then whenever Israel is criticized, people go, oh, no, it's anti-Semitism. No, there's real anti-Semitism.
Well, Jack, let me respond.
Instead of attacking that, all you guys ever do is hide behind the veil of anti-Semitism. Do you know why Palestinians might not like Israelis? Because they've been oppressed for 56 straight years.
I hear you. And let me respond. I'm not you guys. I don't think I fit into any...
Oh, Piers Morgan, you are those guys, okay? You are a fucking avatar of corporate right-wing media, Piers Morgan. You are the motherfucking face of the UK right-wing smear factory. You are absolutely one of those guys. Propagandists.
Neat fit on this issue at all. B, I've actually covered this story, I think, more fairly than most people. I've had many pro-Palestinian voices.
To be fair to Piers Morgan, if you look at his little channel on whatever the fuck network this is, it's like a One America News network in the UK, GB News or something like that. Right-wing funded, right-wing narratives. He has had several pro-Palestinian people on there. Of course, he's trying to do gotcha journalism. But to be fair, you don't see Cenk Uygur on Morning Joe.
I've given a huge platform for. They've been getting enormous audiences from Bassem Youssef to others, and I've done that quite deliberately because I think these voices are important to be heard, including yours. I certainly wasn't accusing you, by the way, or your organisation of anti-Semitism. I have found it, as somebody who's always identified as liberal myself, I have found it very dispiriting to see people who call themselves liberals, whose instant response, it seemed to me, to one of the worst terror attacks we've ever seen was to immediately side with the place where these attacks have been launched from. Now, I don't tar all Palestinians with the brush of being Hamas at all. And in fact, the sooner Hamas are out of there, the better for the Palestinian people and the world. But I just think the only human response you can have is, as you did, by the way, to your credit, is it was disgusting what happened on October the 7th. Now, the question then becomes, what is a proportionate response by Israel? Not just the terror attacks of October the 7th, but obviously there is now a huge ongoing escalation in what has been, as you rightly say, a 56-year war, effectively, in varying degrees over that period. And that
didn't say the word occupation, did he? All right.
That's where I think I'm struggling to see how a ground invasion by Israel, with all that would entail, particularly mass deaths of Palestinian civilians, how that is going to do anything for any peaceful resolution to this. I think it will have the opposite effect.
Yes. So let's take it one at a time. First of all, as you rightly point out, on Young Turks, we covered the atrocious actions of Hamas right from the get-go, and we condemned it as fully as anyone can possibly condemn it. Because not only are they killing those poor, innocent Israelis that didn't do anything, those little babies and the grandmothers, it's disgusting what they did. But on top of that, they're ruining the Palestinian cause. They've burned the moral high ground to cinders. And then on top of that, they smear all people of Muslim background like myself. And then it unleashes this.
Cenk is officially, I think, atheist now, but he comes from a Muslim background and he was raised by Muslims.
Bigotry, of anti-Muslim bigotry throughout the world I'm sick of. So screw Hamas and their barbarism, okay? Now, in terms of a proper reaction, yes, you need to get those hostages out. So now let's look at I'm going to suggest what to actually do. I'm going to be constructive.
I don't know, man. I think a massive carpet bombing campaign is the first step in getting hostages out. That's going to do it, dude.
But first, let's look at the unconstructive solution that Israel had. Dropping bombs on residential buildings. 50 ambulances have been hit. 10 out of 25 hospitals don't operate anymore. The incubators are about to run out of energy. There's 45 babies that might die today. The parents I just read on CNN are writing the names of the kids on their calves, on their legs, so that if they are killed in a bombing and they're mutilated, they could find their bodies. Imagine writing the name of your child on their legs so that you could find them in the rubble after Israel or any government drops a bomb on them. And I need the West to understand something. Bombs kill people. And do you know how they kill people? They incinerate them alive, or their heads explode. So what happened?
The pressure from the explosion will cause rupture.
In Israel was a disaster and disgusting. But you have to be equally honest and equally outraged at the immorality of incinerating babies and grandmothers and aunts and uncles, which is what we're doing right now. America cannot keep sending aid for death and destruction. Enough of the occupation. End it today. End it today. It's monstrous. Okay, I'm going to
let me ask.
So, I mean, that's a good question. I don't know if you're asking it in, if you're being an honest actor and asking that. But no, that is a good question. If Israel cared about reducing if Israel cared about reducing civilian deaths and actually cared about rescuing the hostages, they would invade and occupy without a carpet bombing without a carpet bombing campaign. It would be much more dangerous for Israeli soldiers. Of course, you could also start negotiating. You could say, okay, we'll end the occupation if you do this, that, and this. That's completely off the table. There's actually a couple, plays that Israel could be playing if the goal wasn't the total destruction of the Palestinian country and Palestinian people. But because the goal is to destroy Palestine, to displace these 1.1 million people, how do they end the occupation? They they allow Palestine. I guess it's now two entities, but they allow some autonomy. It is a sticky situation though, because it's not like Hamas is a legitimate government. But the solution is not flatten northern Gaza to the ground. It's certainly not going to get your hostages, and it's the thing that's going to cause the most civilian deaths. All right, I'm going to get back to the thing here. I don't have time for a tit for tat, unfortunately.
Ask you this. Let me. I completely understand your passion and your anger. I completely get this. I, like you, want to see some resolution at the end of this horror that we're witnessing. How do you get rid of Hamas if you don't do it the way Israel are currently doing it? How do you actually eradicate what is...
Very, very interesting. This is literally the question being asked in the comments section. So let's see what Cenk has to say.
Become annihilated.
I mean, so General, you agree with killing all the Palestinians? Do you agree with that? Ending the occupation means, it's not easy. It's going to be complicated, but it does mean giving autonomy to the Gaza Strip and the West Bank to do their own affairs, to run their own affairs, allowing them to import medicines and other things. We got to give Palestine back to the Palestinians.
Nihilistic.
Yes, Banger, I have seen that. It's funny and stupid.
ISIS-style terror group who've quite deliberately, in my estimation, committed an outrage of such appalling scale that they knew that this would goad Israel into this kind of response. So why they did that, what is motivating it, who might be putting them up to it, who's helped them prepare for this, these are all questions we don't know the answers to yet. But it seems to me that Israel could, if it's not careful, be being lured into a...
General, I really do have a feeling that you're being a bad actor. You're not really interested. You're just asking questions, right? Answer one. Since you're asking so many questions, maybe you can answer this one. Do you agree that the only solution is to kill all the Palestinians? Go ahead and answer that question.
Massive trap here, and I hope that is not the case. But I'm curious, how do you get rid of Hamas if you don't do it the way Israel is currently doing it, albeit with...
So what is your solution? Do you agree with the people saying that 1.1 million Gazans from northern Gaza should be expatriated to Egypt or Jordan? Is that your solution? Another Nakba?
Horrific collateral damage in the face of thousands of...
Well, I do agree. I mean, handing over Hamas, just allowing Hamas to just completely take the Gaza Strip without any resistance and continue to run it is not a good idea for Israel. I do agree with that. The thing about it though is that the solution is not bombing them. You can only defeat terrorism with politics. You can't defeat terrorism with guns. Show me the country that has defeated terrorism with weapons. So I do agree it's complicated. And I really wouldn't want to just let Hamas just, fester on its own independently. The reality is, though, Israel isn't leaving. This isn't about eliminating Hamas. This is about taking Palestine. And Israel isn't leaving. They're going to occupy northern Gaza, and they're never going to leave. Because that's the goal. So back. No, I didn't say any of that. No. Answer the question. Do you agree? So you don't agree with a full-blown genocide. Do you agree with exiling 1.1 million Palestinians into Jordan or Egypt? The Israeli government has options beyond genocide, beyond occupation. Yeah, this idea that Israel has no choice but to kill thousands of civilians and occupy northern Gaza is a canard. So, General, what is the Israeli military going to do that the United States military didn't do when it failed to defeat the Taliban, when it failed to defeat ISIL and ISIS, when it failed to defeat the Viet Cong? What is the Israeli military going to do differently that the United States military was incapable of doing in terms of its attempts to destroy communism or terrorism? I'm not an expert. Wow, so you got no opinions on that one. Here's the thing, man. You are eagerly allowing a corrupt, authoritarian, right-wing government to convince you that the country, that Israel needs to be in some quagmire, military quagmire, and you guys are flying in the seat of your pants. You don't have a fucking plan. You don't have a fucking plan. Eliminate Hamas.
Innocent Palestinians being caught up in the bombing.
Yeah. So let me give you a short-term answer, long-term answer. And
that is not my opinion, and you're saying that dishonestly. So there you go. There's your ban right there. Your attempt. You're such a bad actor, dude. Goodbye. I did not say that. I don't agree with that. So Hamas should stay, in your opinion? No. You're not just asking questions. You're a fucking troll. Goodbye. Back to the show.
A lot of people are not going to like these, but these are realistic ways that you minimize civilian casualties. You do what America did with the Osama bin Laden raid. We didn't go drop a nuke on Pakistan. We didn't go destroy 6,000 residential buildings in the middle of Pakistan. We sent in special forces. Is it more dangerous to the special forces? Of course. That's the point of special forces. Try to find the hostages. Does it look like Israel's trying to find the hostages? If I have a family member that's a hostage, I'm disgusted by what Netanyahu's doing now. How do you know they're not in the buildings you're dropping bombs on? How do you know they're not in the tunnels you're dropping bombs on?
They don't care. They don't care. The more hostages die, the more fuel it is to the Israeli propaganda fire.
How do you know they're not in the hospitals you're dropping bombs on? So if you want the hostages rescued, every rational human being can agree this is not the way to do it. This is the way to do death and destruction for the sake of death and destruction. It's collective punishment. It's genocide against Palestinians, and the world has to speak out. So my way is not pleasant.
Davey, how do you do that when the men, women, and children are refusing to leave? They're not leaving because they know what will happen when they leave. They know they're not getting it back. When that final moment when the Israeli military tells them to get out of the building, they know they're never coming back. So why leave? Why not die in your home? They're not leaving.
Either it involves a lot of folks dying on both sides. I understand that. Those are super hard choices. But go find Hamas. Go find the hostages. Go rescue them instead of wantonly, indiscriminately killing after killing. And let's be honest, when you drop a bomb and a kid's head explodes and a grandmother is...
Well, because Zeoduke, it's quite nihilistic. They get bombed if they go to the south. They get bombed if they go to a refugee camp. A refugee camp was just bombed. We don't know by who, but it looks pretty clear who did it. So it doesn't matter where you go, Zeoduke. You're going to die. You're going to get bombed wherever you go. They bombed the Gaza Egypt border. So yeah, why not die in your home?
Incinerated. That is terrorism.
So you suspect the Israeli military is going to shoot women and children who refuse to leave their homes. And shoot them dead in their homes.
Killing 3 times as many civilians as Hamas is terrorism. And it is the same if it is done by a government. Send in as many special forces you got. We should send in whatever you got to actually do the job at hand instead of what Netanyahu is doing, which is to kill these people to what? Send a message. And think about how unrealistic that is. And think about why his method has a 0% chance of working. How are the Palestinians supposed to rise up against Hamas? How would they prove they're against Hamas? Hamas ended all elections. Hamas ended democracy. So how are the Palestinians supposed to cry uncle? They're already crying uncle, but it's never enough for the bloodthirsty Netanyahu. No, more death of Palestinians, more babies killed. That's what his answer is. And it's this, and the United States of America, I'm running for president here. There's no way in the world I would have.
He's running for president? I'd vote for him. Fuck it. I don't care. I don't fucking care anymore, dude. I'd vote for Krusty the Clown. Okay, right at this point. Sure, whatever, Jank. Run away, man. You got my vote, dude.
Allow this. Sending $105 billion. And it doesn't even go to Israel, Ukraine, or Taiwan. It goes to the
I don't know about that banger. I disagree with TYT on some things. I don't fully agree with this idea that they're just grifting the left. I think that the left is far too quick to just cut off its own arm. Oh, my arm is grifting. No, I think the progressive media space needs TYT still, even if it is, not completely representing the progressives. But this whole they're grifters, blah blah blah, they're corrupt, they just want money. I'm uncomfortable with that. It's not like the right. It's not like the spaces on the right, with like Steven Crowder and his obvious grifting empire. Not the same.
Defense
I do think they will kill them unless they actually try to fight back. I don't think that they will kill them unless they actually try to fight back. Israel would try to detain them and forcibly move them, but if they try to forcibly fight back, I don't doubt Israel will be quick on the trigger. So if a woman throws a rock at an IDF soldier and the IDF soldier wastes her in front of her children, I'm not saying you agree with it, but you think that's what they're going to do? Sounds pretty fucking disgusting. Hey, thank you for that follow, Disinformation Police. Let me guess. I'm spreading disinformation because I don't agree 100% with the right-wing Israeli government's narrative that they're fully justified and totally a victim, right? I'm spreading disinformation, right? Probably then move the children to a camp. Concentrate them in a camp. Not a bad idea. Yeah, that's worked really well in the past.
Contractors that bribe these greedy American politicians and then get most of that money. And so the long-term answer is 1967 borders and the biggest walls.
Yeah, woke patriot. Yeah, I kind of agree with you as well. What's the problem with having a book to sell? On the progressive, the left can't sell books now. We can't make any money. We got to be above it all. The only way you can trust a lefty is when they're destitute and poor. And, and they're living in the woods, disconnected from the system, not taking advantage of the system at all. No, that's a great point, Wilkie.
Ever seen in your entire life. And no one's allowed to cross to either side. But the Palestinians get their state. It is unconscionable for them not to get their state. And if you're a moral person, of course you believe that the Palestinians are not the only people in the world that cannot govern themselves. If you say that, you are being, by definition, bigoted and a racist. We have to have two-state solution immediately. If 56 years of occupation and brutalizing these people is not enough, is 57 years going to be enough? Is 156 years going to be enough? I'm asking Israel, not out of hate, out of love. So many of my friends that I grew up with are Jewish. This is not good for them. This is not good for anybody. Please look into your hearts, look and be the moral people that I know you can be. I've been to Passover dinners where you pray for your oppressors. Now, it breaks my heart, but I got to tell you, you got to pray for those you are oppressing. And to say that you are not oppressing the Palestinians after brutalizing them for 56 long years, you're kidding yourself. And as a friend and an ally, I'm trying to get you to wake up and snap out of this trance. You cannot keep doing this. It is ruining your moral fiber.
Cenk.
There you go. I got to give credit to lefty progressive Piers Morgan for allowing Cenk Uygur to speak, not talking over him. I do appreciate that, Piers. Allowing Cenk to get his ideas out, not being a de facto cheerleader for the right-wing Israeli government led by Netanyahu and Ben Gvir. So I'm reluctantly giving Piers Morgan credit here. If this was Sean Hannity, this interview would have been a total disaster. With Sean Hannity not allowing Cenk 5 milliseconds to get his points out, and Piers Morgan sat quietly and allowed Cenk to get his points out. So thank you, Piers Morgan, lefty progressive hero, Piers Morgan. Thank you so much, Piers Morgan, for this interview. And thank you, Cenk Uygur. By the way, I there was not one thing I disagree with Cenk Uygur on in this interview. I pretty much fully agree with him and his tone to the people that want to tone police him. Yeah, leftist legend Piers Morgan, guys. Here it is. He's shocked to hear that people don't consider him a liberal. That's amazing. Okay, folks. So thankfully, made it to the final video of the day, and it's a doozy. It's a doozy. I remember where I saw it, but I was from an Israeli source. They claim that the Western states are so privileged that they don't understand what real war is anymore. I think the U.S. understands war. They have become accustomed to easy wars. Afghanistan, Iraq, Vietnam, those were easy wars, huh? We just don't get it. Yeah, okay. They said, quote, where does this opinion that Israel has to fight this war morally and try to avoid casualties? Of course. He said that this is war and Israel will finish it. I expect the IDF has the same opinion. Welcome, Spooky. Okay. Well, so I've talked a lot of shit about the right-wing government of Israel, and I wanted to back it up. I felt this was a very, very good segment from these guys over at Novara Media. Really, really interesting group. I heavily suggest you like and subscribe to these fellas. They're from the UK. Great commentary. Not afraid to talk about the hard issues, to talk about the real shit, and they source. Okay, they're not just pulling opinions out of their ass. This is all sourced, and that's why I wanted to play this here, especially the beginning part where he goes over some of the comments, statements from the Israeli government, from representatives of the Israeli government. That is backing up what I'm saying, that this is not a goal. This is not about eliminating Hamas. This is about taking Palestine. This is about expatriating. Really fun word for exiling, but this is about expatriating as many Palestinians as possible, taking as much Palestinian land as possible, with the end goal being the complete elimination of the Palestinian state. I'm not being hyperbolic, and I'm certainly not being anti-Semitic pointing this out, because I am basing these conclusions, just like I based these conclusions before the start of this. If you want to go back and find the clips, I was absolutely saying this is the Bibi Netanyahu and Ben Gvir are making statements that are absolutely pro-genocide. I'm not being anti-Semitic by pointing this out, that these are statements that they are making. This is their intention. Okay, and don't believe Morning Joe. Okay, pull your head out of your Morning Joe hole, America. This isn't about democracy in the Middle East. This is conquer. This is empire. And here we go. Let's just jump into it. You see what I'm talking about.
Calling Israel's war on Gaza genocidal can get you labeled an extremist. But Israel themselves aren't exactly hiding it. This was part of Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech to the Israeli public on Sunday.
You must remember what Amalek has done to you, says our Holy Bible, and we do remember, and we are fighting our brave troops and combatants who are now in Gaza or around Gaza and in all other regions in Israel are joining this chain of Jewish heroes, a chain that has started 3,000 years ago from Joshua ben Nun until the heroes of 1948, the Six-Day War, the 73 October War, and all other wars in this country. Our hero troops, they have one supreme main goal: to completely defeat the murderous enemy and to guarantee our existence in this country. We've always said, never again. Never again is now.
Now, the mention of the 1948 war will already be worrying to Palestinians. That was when 700,000 Palestinians were driven from their land in what they know as the Nakba, or catastrophe. But the scariest part of that speech was the biblical reference Netanyahu invoked. He said, quote, "You must remember what Amalek has done to you." Now, my knowledge of scripture is not fantastic, but many people have now pointed out that in the Hebrew Bible, that Amalekites are described as the enemy of the Israelites, and this is what the Israelites are implored to do to the Amalekites. Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. Right? So kill everyone, everything they own, all of them, men, women, infant and babies, right? Terrifying. For those unfamiliar with biblical references, 2 weeks ago, the former head of Israel's National Security Council expressed his genocidal intent in a more secular idiom in the Israeli newspaper Ynet News. Giora Eiland wrote this: Israel needs to create a humanitarian crisis in Gaza, compelling tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands to seek refuge in Egypt or the Gulf. In order for this to happen, Israel needs to demand 4 key points with greater determination than ever before. 1. The entire population of Gaza will either move to Egypt or move to the Gulf. From our perspective, every building in Gaza known to have Hamas headquarters underneath, including schools and hospitals, is considered a military target. 2. Every vehicle in Gaza is considered a military vehicle transporting combatants. Now, that's particularly chilling, seeing the scenes of the tank firing on a car as we did today. Therefore, there is no vehicular traffic, and it does not matter whether it is transporting water or other critical supplies. Number 3, the UN Secretary General has initiated humanitarian aid to Gaza. The Israeli condition for any aid should be a visit by the Red Cross to Israeli hostages and especially the civilians among them. Until this happens, no aid of any kind will be permitted to enter into Gaza. That is, by definition, collective punishment, a war crime. And number 4, intermediators with both diplomatic and military experience will be required to explain in detail these concepts to the rest of the world. It will not be possible to remove Hamas without exerting pressure, and if the Americans do not receive a clear and detailed explanation from Israeli officials and understand that Israel has no choice, it is comparable to the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, which led to the launch of an atomic bomb in Japan. So he's talking about an attack on...
If Morning Joe doesn't convince the American people that Israel is fully justified in ethnic cleansing, we're going to have another atomic war, guys.
Palestinians to the scale of the atomic bomb. And he concludes by saying this: as a result, Gaza will become a place where no human being can exist. And I say this as a means rather than an end. I say this because there is no other option for ensuring the security of the state of Israel. We are fighting an existential war. Now, you might say that's a former member of the National Security Council. Maybe he got extreme after he left office. Well, 972, which is a magazine for, they describe themselves for independent Israeli and Palestinian voices, they have just published that the Israeli Ministry of Information itself endorsed on the 13th of October, so a day after this article was written, endorsed as its suggested policy position that Gaza be completely cleared of all Palestinians. Right. So,
I'm talking about,
as I say, the Israeli government is not.
It's not about Hamas. It's not about democracy or safety or the sanctity of the Israeli state existing. This is empire. This is all a disgusting justification for conquering another country. You know, and you got to do it differently in the modern era. You got to do it through the filter of propaganda and social media. And this is how you do it. A massive, massive propaganda campaign to convince Americans that it's justified. Don't believe your lying eyes.
Hiding its genocidal intent. Yeah, Aaron, I really still think that, you know, the way this is talked about in the Western media, the way Israel is talked about, it just hasn't caught up with this. Right? It's still just talked about like it's this normal liberal democracy. Oh, you know, Israel's just like us. They've suffered a terrorist attack. You know, what would they do? This is just counterterrorism. You've literally got the Prime Minister of Israel citing biblical passages which suggest we have to kill every man, woman, child, and baby. And you've still got Labour politicians saying, oh, you know, Israel, you know, we've got to support. I speak to people in Israel. They've got to defend themselves. It's completely divorced from reality. I do feel like if more people in Britain knew what the actual Prime Minister of Israel was saying, what the Information Ministry of Israel was saying, what Israeli politicians are openly saying, they're not hiding it. The kind of discourse we have about this conflict in this country would just seem so ridiculous.
Yeah, conservatives love to talk about the Judeo-Christian heritage that underpins the West. What you're seeing here, Michael, the rhetoric from Netanyahu in particular, is completely at odds with ideas of just war that we've had in Europe or within the Christian tradition since Augustine of Hippo. So you're going back, 1,500 years. And just war theory, which also, by the way, comes out of Roman law, even the Romans had certain ideas that there are conventions of war which shouldn't be breached. Three of the key sort of cornerstone concepts, principles of just war, jus in bello, are distinguishing between combatants and non-combatants, proportionality, and military necessity. So, you know, it's necessary to bomb this, right? We're bombing this place because the Hamas are based there. So these are three big pillars: proportionality, distinction, military necessity, which have just been completely ignored by Israel. In fact,
it's all justified now.
And then in rhetoric, Netanyahu is saying, well, we are ignoring them, and I'm making this rhetorical appeal to the Old Testament. So you're seeing an appeal to religious scripture which precedes ideas and ideals of just war in the Christian tradition. Very dark, Michael. Very dark.
Rob, I have a one-word response. World War II.
And look, that's not to say all the wars fought by Christian nations have been wonderful. Of course they haven't. But they claimed to uphold these principles. You know, even after 9/11, when the United States goes into Afghanistan, Iraq, they don't say, we will kill civilians, we don't care. They say we'll be proportionate. Of course, we're trying to kill combatants, not non-combatants. They say we will do things because it's militarily necessary. Right? We will be proportionate. Of course.
Crail of Xanath is correct. I'm a fucking idiot. Thank you.
We're proportionate. If you look at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that was at the center of the whole debate, right? Well, look, and I don't agree with using nuclear weapons in Japan in 1945, but those were the parameters of the debate. Tens of thousands of people have died in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, but if we have an invasion of Japan by the United States, millions could die. It wasn't quite that simple. It was more about actually the Russians getting there first, but park that for a moment. That debate, that argument, was very much informed by ideas of just war, proportionality, distinction, military necessity. We are not now there with Israel, certainly not with regards to distinction and proportionality. And the fact that Europe is not calling this out, Michael, I think is a really important moment actually in human history. It's a really important moment. We are giving up on the things which apparently our civilization claimed it was committed to above all else. And not just for the last 10, 20, 50, 100 years, going back centuries. Going back centuries. And it's deeply, deeply concerning. You know, we've had about 8,000 civilian casualties now, civilian deaths in Gaza.
No, Rob, you're not wrong that this war is unnecessary, like a grand majority of wars. But the left needs to be very careful about saying all war is wrong. The pacifist perspective that there's no more need for human beings to defend themselves, that the morality of the situation will somehow change the situation, is just misinformation. Pacifism is not a viable ideology currently. We're not there yet. Humanity is not there yet. I deserve the right to defend myself from oppressors, and that often means utilizing violence. Makes things very complicated.
In Ukraine, since February 2022, according to a UN agency, you're looking at around 9,500 civilian deaths. So 9,500 versus 8,000 since October the 7th. You know, that's only
90%, 95% of the time, war is totally unnecessary. I agree with that. But I just disagree with the pacifist lefty idea that, you know, that all war is unnecessary, that all conflict is unnecessary. Sometimes bullies need to be stopped, need to be pushed back against. Oppressors, authoritarians, dictators need to be pushed back on. And it is moral. It is moral to kill in a situation where that, you know, one organization or one entity is going to destroy another entity.
23 days ago at the time of recording today. And I think you're right to say, yes, I don't think, you know, Western media, Western politicians are being alive to what's going on here, but they bloody well should be, because this is a major, major shift. And it's even at odds with the stuff you hear from conservatives, you know, the Jordan Petersons, the Douglas Murrays. Israel is a part of the West because we share this common Judeo-Christian inheritance. Well, actually, what Netanyahu is saying is completely at odds with Christian ideas of just war. Completely at odds. We've never heard this kind of argument before from a European. I won't, you know, obviously some regimes, I won't say them, but it's been very, very, very unusual, highly irregular. And isn't it interesting, I'll finish on this, Michael, that you can talk about holy war as long as you're wearing a tie and a suit and you're buying US weapons and you were educated in American university. But heaven forbid you talk about a holy war wearing a dish dash or a keffiyeh, because then, of course, you're deplorable and you're not even human. You're not even human. You don't deserve the rights of a human, i.e. human rights. Yet you could do the precise same thing, quoting religious scripture, if you wear a suit and your interests happen to align with the United States. I think it tells you something quite significant, actually, about how we make sense of these things.
I agree, strategy.
And look, you can criticize Europe all you want. I do it. Can you imagine a European politician doing this?
Yeah.
I can't. I really.
I mean, even a U.S. right-wing Republican literally going up to the podium quoting biblical scripture before starting an invasion or an occupation. I mean, we had Donald Rumsfeld putting, you know, scripture on the intelligence reports that were handed to George Bush, but we never had George Bush up there quoting the Bible as some kind of justification for the invasion of Iraq or in Afghanistan, right? That, you know, even the right-wing Republicans were trying to fight against the perception that this was some kind of a holy war. But here we have, you know, legit, the supposedly totally legit, you know, totally democratic, regular, you know, not an extreme, you know, because it's never labeled as extremist, the Israeli right-wing government, even though it is. They're just treated as a legitimate government that actually, you know, where's the commentary on, you know, Bibi Netanyahu's attempts at turning himself into a dictator? We're just going to ignore that because we're with Israel. We side with Israel. But what about the Israeli people that want to have a democracy? I think, you know, they have some, we were just dealing with massive protests by Israelis in the streets against Netanyahu for his attempts to turn himself into a dictator, and that's all forgotten. We're just done with that now. Bibi Netanyahu hasn't forgotten, I guarantee it, and I bet you the efforts to, ruin the legitimacy of the justice system there is still full blown. It's still happening. I guarantee it.
They can't. And I think it speaks to the direction of Israel as a political entity. In 1948, when it was founded, I think around 1% of its population was Haredim, ultra-Orthodox. Some people say by 2050, you're looking at about 30, 40%. And of course, those are the voters who are the bedrock of two of the far-right parties who are in government right now with Netanyahu. That is the future of Israeli politics. And it begs the question, at what point will liberal democracies in Europe grasp, understand, communicate, convey to Israel that they are no longer on the same civilizational wavelength? I think personally that moment's already gone, but surely it's a matter of time. When you have somebody like Ben Gvir in charge of domestic security in Israel, surely people talk about Maloney on the far right or Salvini. They are progressives, they're libs compared to Ben Gvir. When is the penny going to drop with Europeans, with our political media class? It has to happen, surely, at some point.
The Nazis spoke in a very genocidal fashion. Could we also say that about European politicians with relation to sort of empire and in colonial era, where they would talk, openly, not in the language of sort of just war, but in the language of these people are fundamentally our enemies and we can kill as many as we want and who cares?
That's precisely how Europeans, not always, but very often, conducted war with non-Europeans, right? Whether that was the Spanish in South America, whether that was...
Dehumanization is an essential element to empire building.
The British in parts of sub-Saharan Africa, the Germans with the Herero. So absolutely. I mean, but those kinds of arguments being made at an intra-European level have been incredibly rare. I know people like to talk about, Europe's constantly at war with itself, which it has been. It's not a phenomenon you see, for instance, in East Asia. But the idea of conduct, proportionality, military necessity, combatant, non-combatant. Okay, civil wars are a bit different. So you might say the 30 Years' War in Germany. Civil wars are a bit different. But intrastate wars between European nations, they have. I can't think of many examples where they've made these kinds of appeals, both to scripture that Netanyahu's done, but also that's aligning with the facts on the ground. I can't think of many examples. Of course, Europeans in non-European places, it's incredibly common. You can go all the way back to Christopher Columbus. And of course, just war theorists actually started to respond to this as well. There was a big debate in 16th century Spain about, well, actually, these are humans. You can't necessarily treat them in a certain way. And that itself, the fact we're even talking about, 16th century Spain's treatment of the Western Hemisphere, the fact that's even in the conversation, I think shows you how deeply reactionary.
The seemingly insane actions of human beings in power make sense when you think about realpolitik, when you think about the machinations of power, when you follow the money, when you see why the corruption's there and where the motivations are, you do need to separate almost completely the words of the person from the actions of the person, of the politician that we're talking about. That is a very, very difficult thing to do. But when you understand power and how it works politically, the seemingly illogical actions of some of these people make perfect sense.
Israel's political class is now becoming the kinds of, that's now in the conversation. Scary, scary stuff. We talk about post-modernity. No, think pre-modernity. Think 300, 400, 500, 600 years ago. That's the kind of ballpark you're in all of a sudden. And just because somebody wears a suit and tie and they went to an American university, and because, they speak with a quasi-American English or American accent, just because they tick all those boxes, that doesn't make them any more concerning for me. As a phenomenon, Michael, I'm not going to lie, as a phenomenon, the future trajectory of Israel, as it moves towards theocracy, I wrote an article about this last year. which is, I think, primarily an outgrowth of the demographics of the country. You know, more liberally minded, secularly minded Israelis, who were probably the people that founded the country in 1948, they are having a very low birth rate of 1-2 children. Ultra-Orthodox are having a birth rate of 7 to 8 children. And there's this line, of course, the religious shall inherit the earth. So people who are more progressively minded don't have the kids, and the people who are religious fundamentalists, they have lots of kids. That's not the case just in Israel. It's in many places, the United States too. Look at evangelical Christians. But that is the real concern for me, is that we're seeing a political, cultural context in Israel now, which is terrifying and completely alien to the West. Completely alien in terms of how we've understood ourselves and behaved with regards to the rest of the world for the last 80 years. It is completely alien. It brings to mind, you know, a book by John Gray, who I recently interviewed for Navarra. It's done very well. You know, Al-Qaeda and what it means to be modern. You know, this idea of modernity must look like this. Well, actually, no, it can look like this. Maybe the future looks like the past. That's the kind of framing that comes to mind when I think about the future of Israeli politics.
My pushback was slightly, you know, in terms of the hundreds years versus the 80 years, because I do think that probably, you know, looking back to when Britain had an empire, we would have talked in a very similar way. But I do agree this isn't what we're used to seeing in modern European politics, discussing, you know, openly that you want to wipe out a people.
Yeah. No, I mean, it really is. Now, all of a sudden, it's cool. Now it's okay because it's justified because, you know, it's like the world began on October 7th when Hamas committed its terrorist act. And we're not going to talk about the history of this conflict. What conflict? What do you mean? Israel was minding its own business, and then Hamas came out of left field and did this atrocious act. So there you go, folks. Yay, we did it. We did it. We did it, guys. What did we do? I don't know. This is happening. This is happening. The only entity that can stop this is the United States. So if you are on the left, if you disagree with Hamas, but you agree with the innocence of Palestinian civilians, you need to be challenging Joe Biden and the U.S. government to leverage its power on the Israeli government to force them into negotiating. With Gaza, it's a little bit more complicated, though, because there's no negotiating with Hamas. They're totally clear. Hamas's 100%. Hamas's goal is the total elimination of every Israeli person. So it's kind of a non-starter. How do you empower the Gazan citizens? How do you actually eliminate Hamas by making them powerless, making them irrelevant? You know, I feel very confident in saying that the solution is not military. But I do agree that you can't just let Hamas just run Gaza. You can't just let Hamas run Gaza either. So you would probably need to get the Palestinian Authority. You'd need to get the West Bank involved. Right? There's some, I mean, the Palestinian Authority made a statement that they're not going to take over in Gaza unless some of the apartheid and some of the occupation is removed from the West Bank. So I weep for the innocents. Once again, it's the innocents caught up in all this shit. Little kids who don't know what the hell's going on. They don't know what's going on. You know? Getting smoked. And some asshole on Twitter sees a photo of it and retweets it and says, "This is what you get. This is it. This is justified." We're completely off the rails here. We're completely off the rails. We're you know. And I think they're going to get away with it. I don't know. I don't see any effort, energy, desire to fundamentally change this by the people who could. What does that mean? Pro-Israeli. What does that mean? Am I pro-Israeli citizens? Am I pro-right-wing Israeli government? Am I pro-existence of Israel? What does that even mean? What does the term Free Palestine mean when Hamas is the de facto government? All of it. Is it... Raptor, are you a simpleton? Are you like a child? Are you a young person? All of it. As if they are one entity. Why? Because you sound like a naive child. That's why. Comments that you're making. U.S. has already signed off on Israel invasion and occupation. Both sides support it, and the U.S. will ensure nobody stops Israel. Right. So, Davey, how guilty are the American people whose taxpayer money funds the IDF? How guilty are they for the ethnic cleansing of Palestine? Like 10% guilty, 20% guilty? 30% guilty? How guilty are the American citizens for allowing their taxpayer dollars to be used to fund an ethnic genocide? I'm gonna go 14%. I think they do have a part in complacency. Thank you, Davey. That's why I like you, buddy. Well, there you go, folks. I will continue to cover this. I have the rest of the week off, so I'm going to try to do some consistent streams. They're going to be smaller streams, though. I had a lot of catch up today, so I'm going to try to keep the streams I do for the rest of the week down to 2 hours. But yeah, so I'll be covering this incredibly depressing. I mean, like I've, you know, for the first time in like 5 years, I've had to like take a break from the news for like a week. You know, it's just because I just look at it and it's like, yeah, this is horrible. No one's gonna fix it. Both sides are pretending there's no solutions except kill, kill, kill. For their own reasons, for their own politics, for their own whatever agendas. And it's nothing's gonna stop this unnecessary slaughter of innocent men, women, and children. I also think the U.S. citizens are too ignorant to care. I agree. Ignorant is the correct term as well. Americans are not stupid. They're ignorant, uninformed. Israel could drop chemical weapons on Gaza and the U.S. would help cover. Morning Joe would definitely. Yep. War perpetuates war. A lot of the time, yes. Not all the time, but sometimes, yes. A lot of the time. Yeah, and if this event becomes bigger than it is, the U.S. will see much of its long-awaited demise. Ah! This isn't a NATO thing. This is something biblical. Get your hands out of it ASAP. Right. Oh, that's right. Rob is a religious guy. Yeah, sure, buddy. Okay. Hey, Rob. I'm not. Yes, you are. You literally said when I asked you, Rob, when I asked you, do you believe in the scientific method? You said you believe in God. You disagreed. You're not religious, but you disagree with the scientific. Oh, is that a different Rob? I thought not the same Rob. Okay, I'm sorry. It's the other Rob. We have several Robs. I'm sorry, Rob. I'm sorry. So you agree, this Rob, you agree with the scientific method. An occultist? Awesome. That's great. Well, you must love the Baphomet on the screen then. The US will be a world superpower for the next 100 years. I don't know about that. I think if Trump or a right-wing government could be a catalyst to the destruction of the US empire, or at very least weakening the US government's power. I think a fascist right-wing government would do a lot of damage to the United States. Hail Satan. He's all right. Satan guy, he's no better than God. God created a parasite that infects children in third world countries that eats their eyeballs out from the inside. God created that. If we're to believe the religious people. God created cancer. So yeah, I think I'd just rather hang out with the Prince of Darkness. I don't believe in anything. Well, that needs to change. Nihilism is a scourge. Nihilism is a cancer. Yeah, God works in mysterious ways, huh? But folks, I want to give a big thank you to everybody in the chat, all you lurkers, all you commenters, you concerned citizens, you peace-loving intellectuals. Thank you for being in the chat, and thank you for participating in the News Underground. Big props to Woke Patriot, Rob Hova, Davey, Chem Goblin, Strategy member, Clutch Cargo. There's the Discord if you want to continue this conversation. We got a Discord right there. Hop on in. Hit that link. Chaos, bro. You want to continue the conversation. Backing Israel, regardless of what they do, is really weakening the U.S. I agree. I mean, but I guess, you know, the U.S. doesn't consider the Arab nations to be very as powerful, you know, as influential as they actually are, I guess. I don't know. Making the rules-based international order we hope to build in the last 8 years look like a complete farce. I totally agree, Clutch Cargo. You know, we got democracies talking about human rights. Human rights? Oh, yeah, no, it wasn't against human rights what happened in Palestine with Israel. Those weren't human. They were Muslims. They say Allah Akbar. Allah Akbar. No, I agree. It makes the entire international, the idea of some kind of international law a complete farce. Even more so than what it already is. With the intense American exceptionalism. With the absolutely uncontrollable American exceptionalism that dominates the narrative of like literally everything. So big props once again, Woke Patriot, Rob, Davey, Lenny. Thank you, Lenny. #1 financial contributor to the stream. Big props to your boy Lenny. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel and the Twitch. Accidents waiting to happen on YouTube. Check it out today. I'm going to enjoy Halloween with my family. There's a very low likelihood that I will be bombed to smithereens for, you know, trick-or-treating with my child. And I wish that peace could be the world. That peace that I'm going to enjoy and experience in a little bit. I don't think I deserve that because I'm American or because I'm Canadian or whatever. I think I deserve that because I'm human. And I think every human deserves that. Well, not every human. Law-abiding humans. I believe in a force completely disconnected from this earth, not a human like God. God will be nothing like we can imagine. I honestly believe our interpretations of God are visions of the fourth dimension. I do. I think the human beings that have gotten a little glimpse at the fourth dimension, somehow, some way, right? They got a little peek at it. I think that's our interpretation of what we know as Judeo-Christian religion. Will the Void make an appearance this year? The Void? What? The Void, huh? Enjoy the night with your family. Thank you, Lenny. And hey, safe travels, man. I know you're a jet-setting businessman, but be careful out there, okay? Jedis are lame. Empire was much cooler. Star Wars sucks. It's Star Trek. We're not going to have a debate about Star Wars. Why not have a debate about Romeo and Juliet? You know? Why not have a debate about Humpty Dumpty? Star Wars is a joke, dude. Star Trek, man. That's a real debate. Star Wars. We're talking about an empire that builds a second Death Star. No, a third. They build 3 Death Stars. They just built a bigger one. I'd rather talk about Judge Dredd, you know, the Judge Dredd universe than Star Wars, dude. Give me a mega city over a fucking Death Star any day. Judge Dredd is the shit. Star Wars is shit. Okay. All right, we're having this debate. No, we're not. All right, folks, I got to get going. I say it every stream. I'll continue to say it every stream. Peace in that motherfucking Middle East. Glory to the Ukrainian democracy. We haven't forgot about you, Ukraine. I haven't forgotten about Ukraine. At least. But try to take care of yourself out there. And we're going to see, maybe even tomorrow. I might just fire it up and I got to be more consistent with it anyway. So we might just jump right back into it tomorrow. Let's see about that. You know, if the kid isn't giving me too much trouble. But all right, folks. You think the idea of Ukraine having a democracy is funny? You think the Ukrainian democracy is funny? Okay. So nice. I get to ban somebody right as I leave. What a nice present. Thank you so much, asshole. Goodbye. Genuinely funny. Yeah, you're cute. You're also banned. Welcome to the trash can where you belong, jackass. Peace in that motherfucking Middle East. Glory to the Ukrainian democracy. May it thrive and defeat Russia's attempt to destroy it. I am abandoned nihilism. This has been the News Underground. Thank you for being here. Thank you for that follow, Rob. Thank you for that follow, Rob. We'll see you next time on the News Underground. Thank you for that follow, Rob. Big props to Joy Ridas. Slick Wolf with Joy Ridas. Be safe, folks.